Blood soaked through her scrubs as Elena dragged the massive body toward her car. A Hell's Angel, dying, 2 bullets in his back. She should have left him there. These men murdered her brother 5 years ago. But when his hand grabbed her wrist and he whispered, "I have a daughter," something inside her shattered. She loaded a monster into her passenger seat. By morning, 500 bikers would surround her house. By week's end, she'd lose her job, her safety, her entire world. And by month's end, this dying outlaw would teach a broken single mother what courage really means, then break her heart forever. This is that story. Before we continue, please subscribe and follow this story to the end. Comment below which city you're watching from. I want to see how far this journey travels. Now let's begin. Elena's hands wouldn't stop shaking. She gripped the steering wheel tighter, watching her knuckles turn white against the worn leather. 14 hours. 14 hours of blood, screaming, and death. 3 patients lost. 1 was a child. Her phone buzzed on the passenger seat. She ignored it. The rain hammered against her windshield like fists trying to break through. Her wipers fought back, squeaking in a rhythm that matched her pounding headache. "Come on," she whispered to herself. "Just get home. Tyler's waiting." Her son, 12 years old, probably sitting at the kitchen table right now, pretending to do homework while actually drawing in his sketchbook. The thought of his face, those big brown eyes that looked so much like his father's, made her chest ache. No. Don't think about Jake. Don't think about that monster. The radio crackled with static, then a voice cut through. 3 members of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club were attacked tonight outside Cedar Ridge. Authorities believe it may be connected to ongoing cartel activity in the region. 1 member is confirmed dead. 2 others are missing. Elena switched it off. She didn't want to hear about the Angels. Not tonight. Not ever. 5 years ago, those men took everything from her. Carlos, her baby brother, 23 years old with a whole life ahead of him. Gone because he made one stupid mistake, got mixed up with the wrong people, and ended up bleeding out in a parking lot while men in leather vests rode away into the darkness. The funeral was closed casket. She never got to see his face one last time. Her mother never recovered, died of a broken heart 18 months later. And Elena. She survived. That's what she did. Survive. For Tyler. Always for Tyler. The road curved sharply ahead. Elena slowed down, squinting through the rain. That's when she saw it. Something large in the ditch. At first she thought it was a deer. They were everywhere in Wyoming this time of year. But as her headlights swept across the shape, her heart stopped. It was a man. A massive man lying face down in the mud, completely motionless. "No!" Elena breathed. "No, no, no." Her foot found the brake. The car skidded slightly on the wet pavement before coming to a stop. She sat there, hands frozen on the wheel, rain pounding against the roof. Don't stop. Don't get involved. Just call 911 and keep driving. But her eyes wouldn't look away from that figure in the ditch. And her hands, the same hands that had fought to save 3 lives tonight and lost, were already reaching for the door handle. Damn it! She grabbed her emergency flashlight and stepped out into the storm. The cold hit her like a slap. Within seconds, her scrubs were soaked through, clinging to her skin. The wind howled through the trees, carrying the smell of pine and wet earth. Elena approached the body slowly, her flashlight cutting through the darkness. Please be alive. Please be alive. Please. She saw the leather vest first, the patches, the unmistakable winged skull that haunted her nightmares. Hell's Angels. Every muscle in her body screamed at her to run, to get back in her car and drive away and never look back. These men were killers, criminals. They destroyed families like hers without a second thought. But then she saw the blood. So much blood pooling around him, mixing with the rain and mud. 2 holes in his back, the wounds still fresh. He'd been shot. Elena knelt beside him, her nursing instincts overriding her terror. She pressed 2 fingers to his neck. A pulse, weak, thready. But there. "Sir, can you hear me?" Nothing. She carefully turned his head to the side, checking his airway. His face was weathered hard, covered in a gray-streaked beard. Scars crossed his cheek and forehead, old wounds from old wars. He had to be in his 50s, maybe older. "Sir, I need you to respond. Can you—" His eyes opened, pale blue, like ice over a frozen lake. They fixed on her face with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Please," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the rain. I have a daughter." Elena's heart cracked. She thought of Tyler, thought of her mother, thought of Carlos lying in that parking lot alone, probably saying someone's name with his last breath. "I'm going to help you," she heard herself say. "But you have to stay with me. Can you do that?" The man's eyes fluttered. Who are you?" "I'm a nurse. My name is Elena." "What's your name?" "Marcus." A weak cough. Blood flecked his lips. "They call me Ghost." Ghost. Of course. Even his name was designed to terrify. Elena pulled out her phone, her fingers numb from the cold. She dialed Patty's number. Her friend answered on the second ring. "Elena, girl, where are you? Your shift ended 2 hours." "Patty, listen to me. I found someone on Route 7. He's been shot twice. GSWs to the back, possible lung involvement. He's going to die if I don't get him somewhere warm." Silence on the other end. "Then call 911, that's the protocol. By the time an ambulance gets out here in this storm, he'll be gone." "Then let him be gone, Elena." Patty's voice dropped low. "You said GSWs. That means someone tried to kill this man. You want to bring that kind of trouble to your door, you have Tyler to think about." "I know. So let someone else play hero tonight. You've done enough." Elena looked down at Marcus. His eyes had closed again. His breathing was shallow, rattling in his chest. "I have a daughter." Those words echoed in her mind. "Patty, he's Hell's Angels." Dead silence. Then, "Are you out of your mind?" "Probably." "Elena, these people, Carlos, your brother, I know what they did." Elena's voice hardened. "I know exactly what they are, but I can't let him die in a ditch like an animal. Not even him. If I do that, I'm no better than they are." "You're insane. You're absolutely insane." "I'll call you later." She hung up before Patty could argue more. Getting Marcus to her car took everything she had. He was easily twice her weight dead weight at that. She hooked her arms under his shoulders and dragged him inch by inch through the mud, her back screaming in protest. "Stay with me, Marcus. Don't you dare die on me now." By some miracle, she got him into the passenger seat. Blood soaked through her scrubs, warm against her cold skin. She ran back to the driver's side and climbed in, slamming the door against the storm. Marcus's head lolled against the window. His eyes opened again, finding her face. Why, he managed. Elena started the car, hands trembling on the wheel. "I don't know." The drive home took 12 minutes. It felt like 12 hours. Elena kept one hand on Marcus's chest, monitoring his breathing while navigating the flooded roads. Twice, she had to pull him upright when he slumped forward. Twice, she thought she'd lost him. But Ghost didn't die. He clung to life with the same stubbornness that had probably kept him alive through whatever war he'd survived before this one. When she finally pulled into her driveway, she saw the kitchen light on. Tyler. Elena grabbed her phone and called him. "Mom, where are you? It's almost midnight and—" "Tyler, listen to me carefully." She kept her voice calm, the way she did when talking to panicking patients in the ER. "I need you to go to your room and close the door. Don't come out until I tell you it's safe." "What, Mom? What's going on?" "I'll explain everything later, but right now I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" A long pause, then quiet and scared. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, baby." "I promise. Just go to your room." "Okay. I love you, Mom." "I love you too." She hung up and looked at Marcus. His eyes were open again, watching her. "Your son?" he asked, his voice like gravel. "Yes. And if you do anything to hurt him, I swear to God I will finish what those bullets started. Understand?" Something flickered across his face. Respect, maybe, or recognition. Understood. Getting him out of the car was harder than getting him in. He was conscious now, which helped, but barely able to stand. Elena half-carried, half-dragged him across her driveway, through her front door and into her living room. She dropped him onto her couch, breathing hard. For a long moment, she just stood there, staring at the unconscious Hell's Angel bleeding on her furniture. What have I done? Then she shook herself. There was no time for doubt. She needed to work. Elena retrieved her medical kit from the bathroom, a professional-grade emergency bag she'd assembled herself, stocked with supplies most nurses didn't keep at home. Sutures, hemostatic agents, IV fluids, pain medication. She'd learned long ago that being prepared was the only way to survive. She cut away Marcus's shirt, revealing his torso. What she saw made her pause. Scars, dozens of them, old bullet wounds, knife marks, a puckered burn scar along his ribs that looked like someone had put out a cigarette on his skin. This man had been hurt before, many times, and he'd survived it all. The fresh wounds were bad, but not as bad as she'd feared. The bullets had entered at an angle, missing his spine and lungs. One was lodged near his shoulder blade, the other had passed through his side, leaving a clean exit wound. "You're lucky," she muttered, threading a needle. "If those shooters had better aim, we wouldn't be having this conversation." Marcus's eyes opened. He watched her work, his gaze never leaving her face. "You're good at this. I've had practice. Where? Chicago, South Side, before I moved here." She injected a local anesthetic around the first wound. "I've seen more gunshot victims than most military surgeons." "Why'd you leave?" Elena's hands paused for just a second. Then she resumed her work. "That's not your business." Marcus nodded slowly, accepting the boundary. "Fair enough." She worked in silence for a while, removing the bullet from his shoulder, cleaning the wounds, suturing the damaged tissue. Marcus barely flinched, even when she knew the pain must have been excruciating. "You're not screaming," she observed. "I've had worse." "What happened tonight? Who shot you?" Marcus closed his eyes. "Cartel. Mexican outfit moving into the territory. They hit us outside of town. 3 brothers. I was one of them. The radio said one was dead, the other missing. Deacon's dead. Saw him fall." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Tommy, I don't know. We got separated." "Did they follow you?" "No. I rode until I couldn't anymore. Dumped my bike in the woods about a mile back." He opened his eyes, looking at her with something she couldn't quite name. "Figured I'd die out here. Alone. Just another ghost that nobody'd miss." Elena finished the last suture and sat back. "Well, you didn't die. So now what? Now you should call the police. Turn me in. Get me out of your house before my club comes looking for me." I thought about it. And the sheriff in this town is corrupt as hell. Everyone knows it. If I call him, you might end up dead anyway, or I might end up in trouble for helping you. She started packing up her kit. "Besides, you're in no condition to go anywhere. Those wounds need at least a week to heal properly." Marcus stared at her. "You're going to let me stay. I'm going to let you heal. There's a difference." "Why? I know what I am. I know what my club has done. Why would you—" "My brother's name was Carlos." Elena's voice was flat, controlled. 5 years ago, he got mixed up with some people who did business with your club. Something went wrong. He ended up dead." Marcus was silent. "I found out later that it was a drug deal. Your club's drugs. Your club's territory." She met his eyes, letting him see the pain she usually kept buried. "So, trust me when I tell you I have every reason in the world to leave you bleeding in that ditch." "Then why didn't you—" Elena stood up, looking down at this wounded monster on her couch. "Because I'm a nurse. Because I took an oath. And because if I let people die, just because I hate them, I become exactly what I despise." She turned away. "Now rest. I'll check on you in a few hours." "Elena." She stopped. "I'm sorry. About your brother." She didn't turn around, didn't acknowledge the words, but she heard them. And somewhere deep inside, in a place she didn't want to examine too closely, something shifted. Tyler was waiting in his doorway when Elena walked down the hall. "Mom? Honey, you should be in bed." Who's in our living room? Elena hesitated. Tyler was 12, but he'd already been through more than most adults. He'd watched his father get arrested for domestic violence. He'd held his mother when she cried. He'd learned to be strong long before he should have had to. She couldn't lie to him, not about this. A man. He was hurt. I brought him here to help him. Is he dangerous? Yes. He's injured. Right now, he's not a threat to anyone. Tyler's eyes searched her face. Mom, I saw his jacket, on the floor, the patches. Elena's heart sank. I know what Hell's Angels are, Tyler continued. We learned about them in school. They're criminals. Some of them are. Then why did you bring him here after what happened to Uncle Carlos? Elena crossed to her son and took his face in her hands. Because I couldn't watch another person die tonight, baby. Because sometimes doing the right thing means doing the hard thing. She kissed his forehead. I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Tyler nodded slowly. I trust you, Mom, but I'm scared. I know. I'm scared too. She pulled him into a hug, holding tight. But we're going to be okay. I promise. She stayed with him until he finally fell asleep, then walked back to the living room to check on Marcus. He was unconscious, his breathing steadier now. The color had returned to his face. He'd survive. Elena sank into her armchair, exhaustion finally catching up to her. What have I done? What have I done? What have I... Her phone buzzed. A text from Patty. Just heard on the scanner. Hell's Angels are mobilizing. They're looking for a missing member. Be careful. Elena stared at the message. Then she heard it. The distant rumble of motorcycles. Not one or two, many. Coming closer. She went to the window and pulled back the curtain. Headlights appeared at the end of her street. 1, 2, 5, 8. The engines grew louder, that distinctive roar that had become the soundtrack to every nightmare she'd had for 5 years. The motorcycles stopped in front of her house. 8 men climbed off their bikes, all wearing leather, all wearing the death head patch. The leader was massive, bigger than Marcus, with a shaved head and a beard that hung to his chest. He looked at Elena's house, then at the bloody footprints leading from her driveway to her door. He started walking toward her front porch. Elena's hand went to her phone. She could call 911. She could know. By the time police arrived, whatever was going to happen would already be over. She looked at Marcus, still unconscious on her couch, then at the hallway where her son slept. Straightening her spine, Elena walked to the front door and opened it. The leader stopped at the bottom of her steps. His eyes swept over her, the blood on her scrubs, the exhaustion on her face, the steel in her posture. You, Elena Martinez. Who's asking? Name's Rocco. They call me Reaper. He didn't blink. I'm president of the Wyoming chapter of the Hell's Angels, and I'm looking for one of my brothers. Elena stood her ground. A lot of people are looking for things tonight. Doesn't mean they find them. Rocco tilted his head, studying her. Lady, I'm going to ask you once, is Ghost in your house? I don't know anyone named Ghost. Rocco smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. That blood on your clothes tells a different story. Behind him, the other angels shifted. Hands moved toward belts, toward weapons. Elena's heart hammered, but she didn't let her voice waver. You can stand there all night making assumptions, or you can get off my property before I call the sheriff. Rocco laughed. Actually laughed. Sheriff Cooper. He's been on our payroll for 3 years. Go ahead, call him. Maybe I'll call the state police instead. Maybe you will, but they're 40 minutes away. Rocco took a step closer. And I'm right here. The front door opened wider behind Elena. Marcus stood in the doorway, one hand braced against the frame to keep himself upright. His face was pale, his bandages already spotting with fresh blood, but his eyes were clear. Rocco. The president's expression changed. Relief mixed with concern. Ghost. Jesus Christ, brother. We thought you were dead. Almost was. Marcus moved to stand beside Elena. Would have been if this woman hadn't found me. Rocco's eyes went to Elena, then back to Marcus. She knows who we are. She knows. And she still helped you. She did. The other angels exchanged glances. Elena could see their confusion, their suspicion. In their world, people didn't help Hell's Angels out of kindness. There was always an angle. Rocco stepped onto the porch, bringing him within arm's reach of Elena. Up close, he smelled like leather and motor oil, and something darker underneath. Why? He asked simply. Why would you help him? Elena met his eyes without flinching. My brother Carlos died because of your club 5 years ago. He was 23 years old. I held my mother's hand at his funeral. I watched her give up on living. She let him see the hate in her eyes, the grief, the rage. I have every reason to want every single one of you dead. Rocco didn't move, didn't blink. But I'm a nurse, Elena continued. I took an oath to help people who are hurt. The oath doesn't ask me to check their character first. It just asks me to try. She gestured at Marcus. He was dying. I had the skills to save him. So I did. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Rocco did something that surprised everyone, including Elena. He nodded. Blood debt, he said quietly. The words rippled through the other angels. Elena saw their postures change, tension giving way to something else. Blood debt, Marcus confirmed. What does that mean? Elena asked. Rocco turned back to her. It means you saved one of ours. In our world that puts us in your debt, whatever you need protection money, help you've got it. I don't want your money. I don't want your protection. Doesn't matter what you want. Rocco's voice was matter of fact. You've got it anyway. As long as you live in this town, no one touches you. No one threatens you. No one even looks at you wrong. He glanced at the hallway behind her. That goes for your kid, too. Elena stiffened. How do you know I have a child? Lady, we know everything about everyone in Cedar Ridge. It's how we stay alive. He looked at Marcus. You good to stay here while you heal? Marcus hesitated. That's her call, not mine. Both men looked at Elena. Her mind raced. Every instinct told her to refuse to kick them all out to try to go back to her normal life. But she'd crossed a line tonight. There was no going back. 1 week, she said. He can stay 1 week. After that, he's out. Rocco nodded. Fair enough. We'll post a couple brothers outside, just in case the cartel comes sniffing around. No guards. No motorcycles. If my neighbors see your people parked outside, I'll lose my job and then I can't help anyone. Rocco frowned, but Marcus spoke before he could argue. She's right, Rocco. We do this her way. The president studied Elena for another long moment. Then slowly, a smile spread across his weathered face. I like you, he said. You've got steel. Don't see that much anymore. I don't care if you like me. I just want you off my property. Rocco laughed again, a genuine laugh this time. 1 week ghost, then we talk. He turned and walked back to his bike. And Elena Martinez, when you need us, we'll be there, whether you want us or not. The engines roared to life. One by one, the motorcycles pulled away their taillights, disappearing into the rainy night. Elena stood on her porch until the sound faded completely. Then her knees buckled. Marcus caught her before she hit the ground. Easy, he said. Easy. You're okay. I'm not okay. She was shaking now, all the fear she'd been suppressing finally breaking through. I just invited the devil into my house. I don't know what I just did. Marcus helped her inside, easing her onto the couch. He knelt in front of her, his pale blue eyes level with hers. You did something no one has ever done for me, he said quietly. You showed mercy, real mercy, and I don't know how to repay that. I know, you don't want anything from us. He paused. But I'm going to tell you something anyway, something you should know. Elena waited. I'm dying. The words hung in the air between them. The bullets tonight, that was just bad luck. But there's something else. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. His voice was steady, matter of fact. The doctors gave me 6 months. That was 4 months ago. Elena stared at him. I don't have anyone, Marcus continued. I mean, I do. I have the club, but that's not the same. I have a daughter I haven't seen in 7 years. I pushed her away when I got the diagnosis because I didn't want her to watch me waste away. His jaw tightened. I thought I'd die on my bike, doing something that mattered. Instead, I almost bled out in a ditch. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know who you're helping. I'm not just a criminal, Elena. I'm a dead man walking. And every day I have left, he met her eyes. I want to use it for something good. I just don't know how. Elena didn't know what to say. She'd expected a monster. Instead, she'd found a dying man looking for redemption. Get some rest, she finally managed. We'll talk more tomorrow. Marcus nodded and moved back to the couch. Within minutes, his breathing had evened out into sleep. Elena stayed in her chair watching him. What had she gotten herself into? Down the hall, Tyler's door creaked open. Mom, go back to bed, baby. I heard everything. Elena closed her eyes. Of course he did. Is it true? Tyler's voice was small. Is he really dying? Yes. Silence. Then footsteps, and Tyler appeared beside her chair. If he's dying, Tyler said slowly, then maybe this is his chance to be something different. Elena looked at her 12-year-old son, seeing wisdom beyond his years. Maybe, she whispered. Tyler hugged her tight. I'm glad you helped him, Mom. Even if he's bad. Because you're good, and good people help everyone. Elena held her son, tears finally streaming down her face. Outside, the storm was ending. The first light of dawn crept through the windows. And somewhere in the darkness, Elena knew other men on other motorcycles were watching. Waiting. The blood debt had been declared. Whatever came next, her life would never be the same. The morning brought problems Elena hadn't anticipated. She woke to the sound of her phone buzzing frantically on the nightstand. 6 missed calls from Patty. 3 from the hospital. 2 from numbers she didn't recognize. The first voicemail was from Patty. Elena, call me back now. The whole town is talking. The second was from her supervisor at the hospital. Ms. Martinez, this is Linda Chen. We need you to come in for a meeting this afternoon. There have been some concerns raised about your activities last night. Please call me back. Elena's stomach dropped. She walked out to the living room to find Marcus awake, sitting up on the couch. He looked better color in his cheeks, alertness in his eyes, but the tension in his posture told her he'd heard her phone. Trouble, he asked. You could say that. Someone saw, last night, your neighbors. Probably. Elena rubbed her temples. In a town this small, everyone knows everything within hours. You should distance yourself from me. Tell them I forced my way in, that I threatened you. No one would believe that. Patty knows. If I lie, she'll... Mom. Tyler appeared in the doorway, his hair mussed from sleep. His eyes went to Marcus, then to Elena, reading the situation instantly. What's wrong? Nothing, honey, just some work stuff. You're lying. Your left eye does that twitchy thing when you lie. Despite everything, Elena almost smiled. Tyler never missed anything. Fine. Yes, there might be some problems because of what I did last night, but I'll handle it. How? I don't know yet. Tyler crossed his arms, his jaw set in that stubborn way that reminded Elena so much of herself. Then I'm staying home from school today. Tyler? If people are going to be mean to you, I should be here, to help. You're 12. There's nothing you can... I can be here. Elena's heart swelled with pride, even as fear gnawed at her stomach. Okay, she said softly. Okay, you can stay home, but stay in your room if anyone comes to the door. Promise me. I promise. Marcus watched this exchange in silence. When Tyler disappeared to get dressed, he spoke. Good kid. The best. His father's not in the picture. Elena's expression hardened. His father's in prison, where he belongs. What did he do? Beat me for 3 years, until one night he went too far and I finally called the cops. She met Marcus's eyes, daring him to judge. I spent 6 weeks in the hospital, almost lost my sight in one eye, but I got out, and I kept Tyler safe. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. I've done bad things, Elena. Hurt people who deserved it and some who didn't. But I never raised my hand to a woman. His voice was low, dangerous. Men who do that, they're the lowest form of life. Yet here I am protecting one outlaw while another one sits in a cell. The difference is, Marcus said carefully, I would die before I let anyone hurt you or that boy. Your ex-husband was willing to kill you himself. Before Elena could respond, there was a knock at the door. They both froze. Stay here, Elena said, moving toward the entrance. She checked the peephole and felt some of the tension drain from her shoulders. It was Patty. Elena opened the door. Patty, before you say anything. Oh, I'm saying plenty. Patty pushed past her into the house, then stopped dead when she saw Marcus on the couch. Holy mother of... Patty, this is Marcus. Marcus, this is my friend Patty. Marcus nodded politely. Ma'am. Patty whirled on Elena. Have you lost your entire mind? Possibly. Do you know what people are saying? Do you have any idea Mrs. Henderson saw you dragging what looked like a body into your house last night? She called everyone she knows, and this morning half the town saw those bikers outside your house. They weren't here that long. Long enough, Elena Linda Chen is talking about suspending you. The hospital board is having an emergency meeting. Elena's heart sank. Because I helped an injured man. Because you helped a Hell's Angel. In this town, that's like admitting you're a drug dealer or something. He was dying, Patty. He's one of them. So I should have let him bleed out. Patty opened her mouth, then closed it. Her eyes went to Marcus again, then back to Elena. I don't know, she finally said. I honestly don't know what the right thing is anymore. Marcus spoke up. Ma'am, if it helps, I'll be gone as soon as I'm able. I won't bring any more trouble to Elena's door. Patty studied him with suspicion. Who shot you? Cartel. They're moving into the area trying to push my club out. So there's going to be a gang war. There might be. And Elena is now in the middle of it. Marcus was silent. Patty threw her hands up. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. She turned to Elena. I came here to warn you not to help you with whatever this is, but you're my friend. So I'm going to give you one piece of advice. What? Get your story straight. Linda's meeting is at 3 o'clock. If you walk in there without a clear, believable explanation, you're done. Elena nodded. Thank you, Patty. Don't thank me, just be careful. She looked at Marcus one more time. And you, if you hurt her, if you bring any of your biker drama into her life, I will find a way to make you regret it. Understand? Marcus almost smiled. Yes, ma'am. After Patty left, Elena sank onto the armchair across from Marcus. She's right, he said. You should tell them I forced you, threatened you. It's the smart play. No. Elena, I said no. She met his eyes. I made a choice last night. A choice I still believe was right. I'm not going to lie about it just to save my job. Your job is how you take care of your son. I'll find another job, but I won't find another conscience if I trade this one in for convenience. Marcus stared at her like she was some kind of alien creature. You're not like anyone I've ever met, he said finally. Is that a compliment? I honestly don't know. Topped. The meeting at the hospital was worse than Elena expected. Linda Chen sat across from her in the small conference room, 2 board members flanking her like silent judges. Ms. Martinez, Linda began. As you know, this hospital has a reputation to maintain. Our patients trust us. The community trusts us. I understand. Then you can imagine our concern when we learn that one of our nurses has been associating with known criminals. Elena kept her voice steady. I found an injured man on the side of the road. I rendered aid. That's what we're supposed to do. You brought him to your home. You're treating him there. Is that standard procedure? The nearest hospital was 40 minutes away. He would have died. And his associates, the motorcycle gang that showed up at your home last night, they came looking for their friend. I didn't invite them. Linda leaned forward. Ms. Martinez, I'm going to be direct with you. There are people on this board who want to fire you immediately. They see your actions as a betrayal of everything this hospital stands for. Elena's hands clenched in her lap. And what do you think? Linda was quiet for a moment. I think you're one of the best nurses I've ever worked with. I think you saved that man's life when most people would have kept driving. And I think... She glanced at the board members. I think we need to consider the context before we make any decisions. The context, one of the board members snorted, is that she's harboring a criminal. The context, Elena said, her voice rising slightly, is that I took an oath. The same oath everyone in this room took, to help people who are sick and injured. It doesn't say accept the ones we don't like. It also doesn't say bring them into your home and nurse them back to health, the board member shot back. If the situation were reversed, if it was your daughter who needed help and a Hell's Angel was the only one who could save her, what would you want them to do? Silence. Linda spoke again. We're not going to fire you today, Ms. Martinez, but you are being placed on administrative leave effective immediately. 2 weeks with pay. During that time, we'll conduct a full review of the situation. Elena's stomach dropped. 2 weeks. It's the best I can do. The meeting ended. Elena walked out of the hospital, her mind spinning. 2 weeks without work. 2 weeks of whispers and judgment. 2 weeks of uncertainty. When she got home, Marcus was waiting. Well, I'm on leave. 2 weeks. They're deciding whether to fire me. Marcus's expression darkened. This is my fault. No, this is the town's fault. Their fear, their prejudice. Elena dropped onto the couch beside him. But that doesn't make it any easier. I should go, tonight, before I make things worse. You can barely walk. I've survived worse. Stop saying that. Elena turned to face him. Stop trying to play the martyr. You're not helping anyone by getting yourself killed. And you're not helping yourself by keeping me here. Maybe I'm not trying to help myself. Maybe I'm just tired of being afraid. Marcus studied her face. What happened to you, Elena? Besides your brother, besides your ex-husband, what made you like this? Elena was quiet for a long time. Then she said, when I was 23, I watched my best friend die in a car accident. We were driving home from a concert. Drunk driver hit us. Sarah was killed instantly. I walked away without a scratch. Marcus listened in silence. After that, I made a promise to myself that I would never stand by when someone needed help. Never. She met his eyes. It doesn't matter who they are or what they've done. If I can save them, I will. Because Sarah didn't get that chance. No one was there to help her. And that's why you became a nurse. That's why I became a nurse. Marcus nodded slowly. I had a partner once, he said. In the club. Brother named Danny. We served in Afghanistan together, joined the Angels together, did everything together for 15 years. He paused. 3 years ago, Danny got killed in a raid. Wrong place, wrong time. Cops said it was an accident, but I know it wasn't. They targeted him because of who he was. I'm sorry. After that, something in me broke. I stopped caring about anything. The club, the money, the power, none of it mattered anymore. I just wanted to die. He looked at his hands. Then I got the diagnosis. 6 months to live. And suddenly dying wasn't something I wanted anymore. It was just coming, whether I was ready or not. Elena reached out and touched his arm. It was the first time she'd touched him gently rather than as a patient. Why are you telling me this? Because you asked what made you like this. And I realized I don't know what made me the way I am. I've been running from that question my whole life. Down the hall, Tyler's bedroom door opened. He appeared in the living room, his sketchbook under his arm. Mom, is everything okay? Elena forced a smile. Everything's fine, honey. Tyler looked at Marcus, then at Elena's hand still resting on his arm. He didn't say anything, but Elena could see the questions in his eyes. I'm going to draw for a while, Tyler said finally. On the porch. Is that okay? That's fine. After he left, Marcus spoke. He's watching out for you, making sure you're safe. He's done that since he was 8 years old, since his father first hit me. Kid shouldn't have to carry that weight. No, he shouldn't. Elena pulled her hand back. But we don't always get to choose our burdens. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then, I want to help him. What do you mean? I mean, when I'm healed enough, I want to do something useful. For you, for Tyler, for this town. Something to prove that not everything about my life was wasted. Why? Because you gave me a second chance, and I don't want to waste it. Elena looked at this dying man, this outlaw, this stranger who had stumbled into her life. For the first time since she'd found him in that ditch, she felt something other than fear. She felt hope. Doc, the call came at midnight. Elena was asleep in her chair when her phone rang. She grabbed it, heart pounding. Hello, Elena Martinez. A woman's voice. Unfamiliar. Who is this? My name is Donna Walsh. I'm the mayor of Cedar Ridge. Elena sat up straight. Mayor Walsh, it's midnight. I know, I apologize, but I heard about your situation and I thought we should talk. About what? About the fact that you might be the bravest person in this town, and I think we need people like you. Elena glanced at Marcus, who had woken at the sound of her voice. I'm listening, she said. And in the darkness, as the mayor spoke, Elena felt the first threads of something new beginning to weave together. A plan. A purpose. A chance to turn everything around. But she didn't know, yet couldn't know, that the real battle was just beginning. Or that her ex-husband Jake had been released from prison that very morning, and he was already on his way to Cedar Ridge. Mayor Donna Walsh's voice carried weight even through the phone. I've been watching you for a while, Ms. Martinez, the way you handle yourself at the hospital, the way you raise your son alone. You're exactly the kind of person this town needs more of. Elena pressed the phone tighter against her ear. With respect, Mayor, I'm not sure what you're asking. I'm asking you to trust me. Can you come to my office tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock? I'm on administrative leave. If I'm seen meeting with the mayor, let me worry about that. 8 o'clock, Elena. It's important. The line went dead. Elena stared at the phone in her hand. What was that about? Marcus asked from the couch. I have no idea. She set the phone down, but I'm about to find out. Neither of them slept much that night. Elena kept checking on Tyler, kept running through scenarios in her head. Marcus lay awake staring at the ceiling, his wounds throbbing with every heartbeat. When morning came, Elena found him sitting up trying to stand. What are you doing? Testing my legs. You need to rest. I've rested enough. He grimaced as he put weight on his feet. If trouble's coming, I need to be ready. You can barely walk. Then I'll crawl if I have to. His jaw set with determination. You didn't save my life so I could lie around being useless. Elena wanted to argue, but she recognized that stubborn look. She'd seen it in her own mirror enough times. Fine, but if you tear your stitches, I'm not fixing them again. Fair enough? She left Tyler with strict instructions. Stay inside, don't answer the door for anyone, call her immediately, if anything seemed wrong, and drove to the mayor's office. Donna Walsh was waiting for her. The mayor was in her late 50s with silver-streaked hair and sharp brown eyes that missed nothing. She gestured for Elena to sit. Thank you for coming. You didn't give me much choice. No, I didn't. Donna folded her hands on her desk. I'll be direct with you, Elena. This town is sick, has been for years. Sheriff Cooper runs half the illegal operations in the county and everyone's too scared to say anything. Elena's eyes widened. You know about Cooper. I've known for 3 years, but knowing and proving are two different things. Donna leaned forward. That's where you come in. Me, I'm a nurse. I don't know anything about... You brought a Hell's Angel into your home. You're under their protection now. Whether you wanted it or not, you're connected to them. That doesn't mean I know their business. But you could find out. Donna's voice softened. Look, I'm not asking you to spy on anyone. I'm asking you to keep your eyes open. Cooper is going to make a move against you against the Angels, and when he does, I want to be ready. Why should I trust you? Because I'm the only person in this town who's willing to fight for it. Donna held her gaze. And because I know about your brother. Elena's breath caught. What do you know? I know Carlos Martinez died 5 years ago. I know the official story was a drug deal gone wrong, and I know that's a lie. The room seemed to spin. Elena gripped the arms of her chair. What are you saying? I'm saying your brother wasn't a drug dealer, Elena. He was an informant, working with the DEA to take down Cooper's operation. No, that's not he would have told me. He couldn't, for your safety and his. Donna's voice was gentle but firm. Carlos was a hero, and Cooper had him killed to protect himself. Elena couldn't breathe, couldn't think. 5 years of grief, 5 years of shame, believing her baby brother had gotten himself mixed up in something dirty, and now this woman was telling her it was all a lie. How do you know this? She whispered. Because Carlos came to me first, before the DEA, before anyone. He trusted me with the truth. Donna's eyes glistened. I've been carrying that secret ever since, waiting for the right moment to use it. And now the Angels are here. Now Cooper is scared. Now there's a chance, a real chance to bring him down. She reached across the desk, touching Elena's hand. Your brother died trying to save this town. Help me finish what he started. Elena closed her eyes. Carlos, her sweet, stupid, brave little brother. Not a criminal, a hero. Okay, she heard herself say. I'll help, but I'm not putting my son at risk. Understood. And I want protection, real protection, not just promises. Donna nodded. The Angels already gave you that, but I'll add mine to it. Whatever you need, whenever you need it, call me. Elena stood to leave her mind reeling. At the door, she paused. Does Cooper know about Carlos being an informant? He knows he had a leak. He never found out who it was. Donna's expression hardened. Let's keep it that way. Elena drove home in a daze. Her hands shook on the steering wheel. Everything she'd believed for 5 years, everything she'd told herself about Carlos was wrong. He wasn't a failure. He wasn't a criminal. He was murdered for doing the right thing, and the man who killed him was still wearing a badge. She pulled into her driveway and saw something that made her blood freeze. A truck she didn't recognize, parked right in front of her house. Elena was out of the car before she'd even turned off the engine. She ran to the front door, threw it open, and stopped dead. Jake Morrison stood in her living room, her ex-husband. The man who'd broken her ribs, fractured her skull, nearly killed her. He was supposed to be in prison for another 2 years. But here he was, smiling that same smile that used to make her believe everything would be okay. Hey, baby, miss me. Tyler was pressed against the far wall, his face white with terror. Marcus was between them on his feet, despite his injuries, a kitchen knife in his hand. Elena, Marcus said without taking his eyes off Jake. Get Tyler and go. Nobody's going anywhere. Jake's smile didn't waver. This is a family reunion, long overdue. Elena's fear crystallized into rage. How did you get out? Good behavior, plus a few friends in the right places. Jake's eyes swept over her, lingering in ways that made her skin crawl. You look good, Elena. Real good. Been taking care of yourself. Get out of my house. Our house, baby. At least it will be soon. He pulled a folded paper from his pocket. I filed for custody of Tyler this morning. Judge Henderson, he's a buddy of mine, fast-tracked the hearing. We go to court in 3 days. You can't, you're a convicted felon. I'm a rehabilitated man who wants to reconnect with his son. Jake's voice dripped with false sincerity. Courts love that story, especially when the mother's been, what did Henderson call it, associating with known criminals. He looked at Marcus with contempt. This the guy, the biker you've been shacking up with. I'm not shacking up with anyone. He was hurt. I helped him. Yeah, I heard. Real good Samaritan, aren't you? Jake stepped closer. Here's the thing, Elena. I don't care what you do or who you do it with. All I care about is what's mine, and Tyler is mine. He's not property. He's my son. You lost that right when you beat his mother half to death. Elena's voice rose to a shout. You don't get to come back here and pretend. Jake moved fast, faster than she remembered. His hand closed around her throat, slamming her against the wall. I wasn't asking permission, he hissed in her ear. I'm telling you how it's going to be. Before Elena could react, Marcus was there. Despite his wounds, despite the blood already seeping through his bandages, he grabbed Jake's arm and twisted. Jake screamed, his grip released. Elena gasped for air. Touch her again, Marcus said, his voice deadly calm, and I'll break more than your arm. Jake staggered back, cradling his injured limb, his face contorted with rage. You're going to regret that, old man. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I know exactly who I'm dealing with. A coward who beats women. Marcus positioned himself between Jake and Elena. I've killed men for less. For a moment, something flickered in Jake's eyes. Fear, maybe. Or calculation. Then he laughed. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. He backed toward the door. 3 days, Elena. See you in court. The door slammed behind him. Elena's legs gave out. She slid down the wall, struggling to breathe. Tyler ran to her, wrapping his arms around her. Mom, are you okay? I'm fine, baby, I'm fine. But she wasn't fine. Her throat burned where Jake had grabbed her. Her heart was pounding so hard she thought it might explode. Marcus knelt beside her, wincing at the movement. We need to call someone. The police won't help. Elena's voice was hollow. Sheriff Cooper is Jake's friend. That's how he got out early. That's how he got the hearing fast-tracked. Then we call my brothers. No, I don't want... Elena. Marcus gripped her shoulders, forcing her to look at him. This isn't about what you want anymore. That man is dangerous. He's connected, and he's coming for your son. You need help. She wanted to argue, wanted to insist she could handle this alone the way she'd handled everything else. But she looked at Tyler's terrified face and she knew Marcus was right. Okay, she whispered. Call them. Marcus pulled out his phone and dialed. The conversation was brief. He gave an address, spoke a few words she didn't catch, then hung up. They'll be here in an hour. What are they going to do? Whatever needs to be done. Elena should have been scared, should have been horrified at the thought of more violence, more chaos invading her life. Instead, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Protected. The hour passed in tense silence. Elena checked Tyler's room, made sure the locks were secure, tried to calm her racing thoughts. Marcus sat at the kitchen table, cleaning the knife he'd grabbed earlier. His movements were careful, methodical, the movements of a man who'd done this many times before. You were in the military, Elena said. It wasn't a question. Army Rangers. 3 tours in Afghanistan. Is that where you learned to move like that, even injured? That's where I learned a lot of things. He set the knife down. Some of them useful. Some of them I wish I could forget. Like what? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. I was a sniper. One of the best in my unit. They called me Ghost because I could disappear into any environment, hit any target, vanish before anyone knew I was there. That's why the club calls you that. The name followed me home. His jaw tightened, along with everything else. What happened over there? Marcus's eyes went distant. Last mission. We were in a village hunting a high-value target. Intel said he was hiding in a compound with minimal security. He paused. Intel was wrong. Elena waited. There was a boy, 12 years old, maybe 13. He came running out of the compound holding something. We couldn't tell what it was. Could have been a bomb. Could have been a toy. Marcus's voice dropped. My CO ordered me to take the shot. Did you? No. The word hung in the air between them. I hesitated. Couldn't pull the trigger on a kid. The boy dropped what he was holding. It was a soccer ball and ran away. But in those few seconds, what happened? The compound exploded. IED. 2 of my guys died because I hesitated. Marcus finally looked at her. The boy was innocent. I saved his life. But I got my brothers killed because of it. Elena didn't know what to say. What could anyone say to that? The army gave me a medical discharge. PTSD, they called it. Couldn't hold a job, couldn't maintain relationships, couldn't do anything but drink and hate myself. He laughed bitterly. The club was the only place that made sense. Other broken men who understood what it meant to carry weight you couldn't put down. And now I'm dying, and I'm tired of carrying it alone. He met her eyes. You asked why I told you about the cancer, about my daughter. It's because you're the first person in years who's looked at me like I'm something other than a monster. Before Elena could respond, the rumble of motorcycles filled the air. They'd arrived. Rocco was first through the door, followed by 4 other angels. Their faces were hard-focused, ready for war. "Where is he?" Rocco demanded. "Gone," Marcus said. "But he'll be back. He's got a custody hearing in 3 days." "Custody!" Rocco's eyes went to Tyler, who'd emerged from his room. "He wants the kid. He wants to hurt me," Elena said. "Tyler is just the weapon he's using." Rocco's expression darkened further. "Tell me everything." Elena told them. About Jake, about the abuse, about the prison sentence and the early release, about Sheriff Cooper's involvement, about Judge Henderson, about the rigged system that seemed determined to destroy her. When she finished, Rocco was silent for a long moment. "This Cooper," he finally said. "We've had dealings with him. He's dirty, we've known that for years. But he's protected. Taking him down won't be easy." "The mayor says she has evidence," Elena offered. "Or at least she's gathering it." "Donna Walsh," Rocco snorted. "That woman's been trying to clean up this town for a decade. She's got guts, but she doesn't have firepower. Then give her some." Everyone turned to look at Marcus. "We've got resources," he continued. "Men, money, connections. If the mayor has evidence against Cooper, we can help her use it." "That's not our way," Rocco said. "We don't work with politicians." "Maybe it's time to change our way." Marcus stood steadying himself against the table. "I'm dying, Rocco. You know that. Everyone knows that. And when I go, I want to leave something behind besides a patch and a reputation." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying this woman saved my life. She's under our protection. And the only way to really protect her is to take down the people threatening her." Marcus's voice hardened. "Not with guns, not with violence, with the truth." Rocco stared at his brother for a long moment. "You've changed, Ghost." "Yeah, I have." Something passed between them, an understanding that went deeper than words. Finally, Rocco nodded. "All right, we do this your way, for now." He looked at Elena. "But if your ex-husband comes near you or your kid again, my way is back on the table." "Understood." "Understood." The angels stayed for another hour, working out logistics, making plans. They would watch Elena's house in shifts discreetly without the visible presence that had caused problems before. They would dig into Jake's background, find anything that might help in the custody hearing, and they would start building a case against Sheriff Cooper. After they left, Elena found herself alone with Marcus again. Tyler had finally fallen asleep, exhausted by fear and adrenaline. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for standing up for us, for changing the plan." "Don't thank me yet. We haven't won anything. We haven't lost either." She sat down across from him. "Can I ask you something personal? You've seen me half naked and bleeding. I think we're past personal boundaries." Despite everything, Elena almost smiled. "Your daughter, Lily, when's the last time you talked to her?" Marcus's expression shuddered. 7 years ago, the day I got my diagnosis." "Why did you push her away?" "Because I didn't want her to watch me die slow. Didn't want her last memories of me to be hospital beds and morphine drips." He rubbed his face. "I thought I was protecting her. Turns out I was just being a coward." "Have you tried to contact her since?" "Every day I think about it. Every day I pick up the phone. And every day I put it back down." His voice cracked slightly. "What would I even say? Sorry I abandoned you. But I'm dying now. So can we be friends?" Elena reached across the table and took his hand. you'd say the truth. That you made a mistake. That you love her. That you want to make whatever time you have left count. What if she doesn't want to hear it? Then at least you tried. At least she'll know. Elena squeezed his hand. I'd give anything for one more conversation with Carlos. One more chance to tell him I'm proud of him. Don't waste the chance I'll never have. Marcus looked at their joined hands, then at her face. You're something else, you know that. So I've been told. He pulled out his phone, stared at it for a long moment, then he dialed. Elena held her breath. 1 ring, 2, 3. Hello? A woman's voice. Young, uncertain. Marcus closed his eyes. Lily, it's Dad. Silence on the other end. Then, I have nothing to say to you. I know you're angry, and you have every right to be. His voice broke. I needed to hear your voice. One more time. One more time. What does that mean? It means I'm dying. Lily, cancer. The doctors say I've got maybe 2 months left. Elena watched Marcus's face as he spoke. Watched the walls crumble. Watched the hard man dissolve into something raw and broken. You're lying. Lily's voice shook. You're just saying that to manipulate me. I'm not lying. I wish I was. Marcus took a shuddering breath. I pushed you away because I didn't want you to see me weak. I thought I was being strong, but I was just scared. Scared of losing you. Scared of you losing me. So you abandoned me instead. For 7 years. Yes. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Lily. I know it doesn't fix anything. I know you hate me. But I needed you to know that I love you. That I've always loved you. That leaving you was the biggest mistake of my life. The line was silent for so long that Elena thought Lily had hung up. Then, where are you? Wyoming, a town called Cedar Ridge. I'm coming. Marcus's eyes flew open. What? You heard me, I'm coming. Don't you dare die before I get there. The line went dead. Marcus stared at the phone in his hand, tears streaming down his weathered face. She's coming, he whispered. She's actually coming. Elena squeezed his hand tighter. See, that's what telling the truth can do. Marcus looked at her with something she'd never seen in his eyes before. Hope. The next morning brought new challenges. Elena woke to her phone ringing, Patty frantic. Elena, you need to get down here. The hospital board called an emergency meeting. What they said I had 2 weeks. Someone's been talking, spreading stories. They're saying you're living with a biker, that you're involved in drug trafficking, that's all lies. I know that, you know that, but the board is scared. They're talking about termination, Elena. Today. Elena's stomach dropped. I'll be there in 20 minutes. She threw on clothes, barely pausing to explain to Marcus what was happening. He tried to come with her, but she refused. You can barely stand, and showing up with you will only make things worse. I don't like you going alone. I don't have a choice. The hospital boardroom felt like a courtroom. 7 people sat behind a long table, their faces ranging from sympathetic to hostile. Linda Chen was among them, but she wouldn't meet Elena's eyes. Ms. Martinez, the board chairman, a man named Gerald Foster, spoke first. Thank you for coming on such short notice. I wasn't aware I had a choice. We've received some disturbing reports about your recent activities. Reports that suggest you may be involved in criminal enterprises. Those reports are lies. Perhaps, but the optics are damaging regardless. Foster shuffled papers in front of him. We've decided that for the good of the hospital, your employment must be terminated, effective immediately. Elena's world tilted. You can't do this. I haven't done anything wrong. Whether or not you've done anything wrong isn't the point. The point is perception. Our patients need to trust us. They can't do that if one of our nurses is associated with what? With saving a dying man's life. With doing my job. Elena's voice rose. I've worked at this hospital for 4 years. I've saved more lives than anyone in this room can count. And you're firing me because of rumors. We're firing you because you've become a liability. A liability. Elena laughed bitterly. You want to know who's really a liability, Sheriff Cooper? The man who runs drugs through this county while wearing a badge. The man who murdered my brother for being an informant. That's your liability. The room went silent. Foster's face paled. What did you say? You heard me. Cooper killed my brother Carlos 5 years ago because he was gathering evidence against him. The mayor knows. The DEA knows. And soon everyone else will too. She stood, her whole body trembling with rage. Fire me if you want. But don't pretend it's about protecting this hospital. It's about protecting yourselves from the truth. Elena walked out before anyone could respond. She made it to her car before the tears came. 5 years she'd built a life here. 4 years at that hospital, and now it was gone, destroyed by lies and fear and the same corruption that had killed Carlos. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Heard you lost your job. Shame. Maybe if you'd been a better wife, none of this would have happened. See you in court. Jake. Elena stared at the message, something hardening inside her. He wanted a war fine. She'd give him one. When she got home, Marcus took one look at her face and knew. What happened? They fired me, and Jake is behind it. Him and Cooper. They're working together to destroy me. Marcus's expression darkened. Then we destroy them first. How? The mayor wanted evidence against Cooper. Let's get it for her. We don't know where to look. But I do. Marcus pulled out his phone. The club has been watching Cooper for years. We know where he keeps his records, who his contacts are, how he moves his product. We just never had a reason to use it. And now we have you. He met her eyes. You wanted to finish what your brother started. This is how. Elena thought about Carlos, about the sacrifice he'd made, about the truth he'd died for. Okay, she said. Let's do it. They worked through the night, Marcus coordinating with Rocco and the other angels, Elena going through everything they sent her, financial records, photographs, witness statements. By morning, they had enough to build a case. But they also had a problem. Someone had been watching them. Elena discovered it when she went to check on Tyler, only to find his window open and a note on his pillow. Come to the old mill at midnight. Alone. Or your son dies. No signature, no explanation, just a threat. Elena's scream brought Marcus running. He read the note, his face going white. They took him. They took Tyler. I'll kill them, Marcus growled. I'll kill every last one of them. We don't even know who. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Elena answered with shaking hands. Hello, Elena. Sheriff Cooper's voice smooth and satisfied. I believe you have something I want. Where's my son? Safe. For now. But that can change very quickly. What do you want? I want you to forget everything you've learned. I want you to drop the investigation, leave Cedar Ridge, and never come back. Do that, and Tyler goes free. And if I don't, then things get very unpleasant for everyone involved. Cooper's voice hardened. You have until midnight to decide. The line went dead. Elena stood frozen, the phone still pressed to her ear. Cooper had her son, and she had 12 hours to save him. Elena couldn't breathe. Her son, her baby, in the hands of a man who had killed before and would kill again without hesitation. Marcus was already on the phone, barking orders. Rocco, we've got a situation. Cooper took the kid. Yeah, Tyler. No, we don't negotiate. We take him back. A pause. Get everyone. Every brother within 50 miles. This ends tonight. Elena grabbed his arm. We can't just if we go in shooting Tyler could get hurt. We're not going in shooting. Marcus's eyes were ice. We're going in smart. Within the hour, Elena's small house had transformed into a war room. 12 angels filled her living room, their leather vests and hard faces, making the space feel both crowded and electrified. Rocco spread a map on the kitchen table. The old mill. Cooper uses it for storage, we've known that for years. 3 entrances. Main door faces the road. Side entrance through the loading dock. Back door through the basement. Security, Marcus asked. Usually 2 guys. But if Cooper's expecting trouble, could be more. He's expecting me to come alone, Elena said. He won't have an army waiting. You're not going alone. I have to. If he sees your people coming... Elena. Marcus gripped her shoulders. Listen to me. Cooper doesn't want to negotiate. He wants to eliminate the threat. The moment you walk through that door alone, you're dead. And so is Tyler. Then what do? Rocco stepped forward. We give him what he wants, or what he thinks he wants. Meaning, you go to the mill, alone like he asked, but we'll already be inside. Elena stared at him. How? The basement entrance connects to the old mining tunnels. We used them for runs back in the 80s. Cooper doesn't know about them. He's too young, wasn't around back then. Rocco's smile was predatory. We go in through the tunnels, get into position, and wait. When you walk through that front door, you won't be alone. You'll just look like it. It was insane. Dangerous. 100 things could go wrong. But it was also the only chance she had. Okay, Elena said. Let's do it. The hours until midnight crawled by like years. Elena tried to stay busy checking equipment, memorizing the plan, going over contingencies, but her mind kept returning to Tyler. Was he scared? Was he hurt? Did he know she was coming for him? At 10 o'clock her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered immediately. Mom. Tyler's voice, thin, terrified. Baby, I'm here. Are you okay? Did they hurt you? I'm okay. They keep asking about you, about the biker guy. Mom, I'm scared. I know, honey, I know. But I'm coming for you, I promise. Ms. Martinez. Cooper's voice cut in cold and sharp. I hope you've made your decision. I'll be there at midnight, alone, just like you asked. Smart woman. And the evidence you've gathered, I'll bring it. All of it. Every last piece. Good. Cooper's satisfaction was audible. One more thing. If I see even a single motorcycle within 10 miles of this place, your son dies. Understand? I understand. The line went dead. Marcus looked at her. He's going to kill you both anyway. You know that. I know. Elena's jaw set. That's why we're not giving him the chance. At 11:30, the Angels moved out. They went in waves, some on bikes, taking long routes to avoid detection, others in trucks that could blend into the rural landscape. Marcus insisted on going with the tunnel team despite his wounds. You can barely walk, Elena argued. I'll crawl if I have to. I'm not letting you face this alone. Marcus, my daughter is coming tomorrow. If I'm going to see her again, I need to be someone worth seeing. He met her eyes. Let me do this, please. Elena nodded. At 11:45, she got in her car and started driving. The road to the old mill wound through darkness. No streetlights, no houses, nothing but trees and shadow. Elena's hands gripped the steering wheel so tight her knuckles ached. She thought about Carlos. About the night he'd probably driven down a road just like this one, thinking he was going to change things, not knowing he was driving toward his death. I'm not Carlos, she told herself. I'm not alone. I have help. But the fear remained. At exactly midnight, she pulled up to the mill. The building loomed against the night sky, abandoned and forgotten. A single light burned in one window. Someone was waiting. Elena got out of the car and walked toward the front door. Her heart hammered. Every instinct screamed at her to run. But she kept walking. The door opened before she could reach it. Jake stood in the doorway, grinning. Right on time. I always loved that about you, Elena. So reliable. Where's my son? Inside, with the sheriff. They're getting along great. Jake stepped aside, gesturing for her to enter. After you. Elena walked into the mill. The interior was vast and empty. their footsteps echoing off concrete walls. Machinery that hadn't run in decades sat rusted and silent, and in the center of the space illuminated by a single work light, Tyler. Tied to a chair, a gag in his mouth, his eyes wide with terror. Tyler. Elena started toward him, but Jake grabbed her arm. Not so fast. He pulled a gun from his waistband, pressing it against her side. We've got business to discuss first. Sheriff Cooper emerged from the shadows. He was in civilian clothes, no badge, no uniform, nothing to connect him to his office. Ms. Martinez, thank you for coming. I did what you asked. Now let my son go. The evidence first. Elena pulled a USB drive from her pocket. Everything we gathered. Financial records, witness statements, photographs. It's all here. Cooper took the drive, examining it. And the original files? Destroyed. I'm not stupid enough to keep copies. No, you're not stupid. Cooper smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. But you are naive. He nodded at Jake. Pain exploded in Elena's skull as Jake struck her from behind. She went down hard, her vision swimming. Mom. Tyler's muffled scream cut through the ringing in her ears. Did you really think I'd let you walk out of here? Cooper crouched beside her, his voice almost gentle. You know too much. Your brother knew too much. It's a family trait, apparently. The angels. Elena gasped. Aren't coming. We've had people watching every road in a 20-mile radius. No bikes, no trucks, nothing. Cooper stood. You followed my instructions perfectly, which means no one is coming to save you. He was wrong. Elena knew he was wrong. But lying there on the cold concrete pain throbbing through her head, she couldn't help but wonder, what if the tunnel team hadn't made it? What if they'd been spotted? What if she really was alone? Kill her, Cooper said to Jake. Then the kid. Make it look like a murder-suicide. Unstable mother custody battle gone wrong. The papers write themselves. Jake raised his gun, pointing it at Elena's head. Any last words, baby? Elena looked at her ex-husband, at the man who'd broken her body, her spirit, her trust, at the father of her child about to orphan his own son. Yeah, she said. Duck. The world exploded. The basement door burst open and angels poured through, weapons drawn. Rocco was first, his shotgun already leveled at Cooper. Marcus came behind him, moving faster than any wounded man should, his eyes locked on Jake. Drop it, Rocco bellowed. Drop the weapon now. Jake spun, confused, his gun swinging between targets. In that moment of hesitation, Marcus struck. He hit Jake low and hard, driving him to the ground. The gun skittered away across the concrete. The two men grappled Jake's youth against Marcus's training. Elena scrambled to her feet and ran for Tyler. Her fingers tore at his bonds, the rope cutting into her hands. I've got you, baby. I've got you. The gag came free. Tyler gasped for air. Mom, behind you. Elena turned just as Cooper raised his weapon. Time seemed to slow. She saw his finger tighten on the trigger, saw the barrel pointed at her chest, saw death coming for her just like it had come for Carlos. The shot rang out, but it wasn't Cooper who fired. Rocco's bullet took the sheriff in the shoulder, spinning him around. Cooper's gun discharged into the ceiling as he fell. Nobody move! Rocco advanced his shotgun, trained on Cooper's writhing form. It's over, Sheriff. All of it. On the ground, Marcus had pinned Jake, one knee on his throat. You like hitting women? Marcus's voice was barely human. You like threatening kids? Get off me. I should kill you right now. End your pathetic life and do the world a favor. Marcus! Elena's voice cut through the violence. Don't! He looked up at her, rage burning in his eyes. He deserves it. I know he does. But Tyler's watching. She gestured at her son, who stood frozen beside her, unable to look away. Don't give him that memory, please. For a moment, she thought Marcus would ignore her. The darkness in him was strong, years of violence, years of pain, years of choosing the hard path. Then something shifted. He looked at Tyler, at the terrified boy who'd already seen too much, and he let go. Jake gasped for air, scrambling backward like a crab. "This isn't over," he sputtered. "You can't—" "It is over." Mayor Donna Walsh stepped through the front door flanked by state troopers. "Jake Morrison, you're under arrest for kidnapping, assault, and conspiracy. Sheriff Cooper, you're under arrest for murder, drug trafficking, and about a dozen other charges we'll sort out later." Cooper stared at her, clutching his wounded shoulder. "You have no authority." "Actually, the governor gave me quite a bit of authority about 3 hours ago, when I showed him the evidence Ms. Martinez gathered." Donna smiled coldly. "You should have checked your email, Sheriff. You were relieved of duty at 10 o'clock tonight." The state troopers moved in, handcuffing both men. Cooper was still shouting about lawyers and rights as they dragged him toward the door. Jake said nothing, his eyes fixed on Elena with pure hatred. She stared back without flinching. "Goodbye, Jake." They took him away. And just like that, 5 years of fear walked out of her life. Elena collapsed against Tyler, holding him so tight she thought she might never let go. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry you had to go through this." "It's okay, Mom." Tyler's voice was stronger than she expected. "You came for me. You always come for me." Marcus approached them slowly, his wounds bleeding again, his face pale but his eyes clear. "Everyone okay?" Elena nodded, tears streaming down her face. "We're okay. We're all okay." Rocco clapped Marcus on the shoulder. "That was good work, Ghost. Real good. Couldn't have done it without you." "Yeah, well." Rocco's gruff exterior cracked slightly. "Family takes care of family." Family. Elena looked around at these rough men in their leather vests, these outlaws who'd risked their lives to save her son. They weren't what she'd expected. They weren't what anyone expected. Maybe that was the point. The next few hours blurred together. State police took statements. Paramedics checked injuries. The sun rose over Cedar Ridge, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. Elena sat on the tailgate of someone's truck, watching the organized chaos wind down. Tyler had fallen asleep against her shoulder, exhausted by trauma and relief. Mayor Walsh approached, looking tired but triumphant. "It's done," she said. "Cooper's in custody. Jake's going back to prison for a long time this time, and the state is launching a full investigation into the sheriff's department. What happens now? Now we rebuild." Donna sat beside her. "Cedar Ridge has a chance to start over, become the kind of town it was supposed to be." "I lost my job. I don't know if I can—" "About that." Donna smiled. "The hospital board called me this morning. Seems they've reconsidered their position. They'd like you back with a raise if you're willing." Elena stared at her. Just like that. Amazing how quickly people change their minds when the real criminals are exposed. Donna's expression softened. "You did something extraordinary, Elena. You stood up when everyone else sat down. This town owes you." "I didn't do it for the town." "I know. You did it for Carlos. And for Tyler." Donna stood. "Take some time. Rest. Heal. When you're ready, we'll talk about the future." She walked away, leaving Elena alone with her sleeping son and her spinning thoughts. Marcus appeared a few minutes later, moving stiffly but under his own power. "Doctors want to take me to the hospital. Check my wounds." "You should go." "I know." He hesitated. "Elena, thank you." She cut him off, meeting his eyes. "For everything. For being there. For not killing Jake. For being someone Tyler could look up to. I'm not. You are." She reached out and took his hand. "Whatever you were before, whatever you've done tonight, you were a hero. My hero." Marcus was silent for a long moment. "Lily called," he finally said, "while we were at the mill. She's landing in 2 hours. Then you should go meet her." "I don't know what to say to her." "You'll figure it out." Elena squeezed his hand. "Start with the truth. Start with sorry. The rest will come." He nodded slowly. Then, impulsively, he leaned in and kissed her forehead. "You're the best person I've ever known, Elena Martinez." Before she could respond, he was gone, climbing into one of the Angels' trucks, disappearing toward the hospital and an uncertain reunion. Elena watched him go, something warm unfurling in her chest. Then Tyler stirred against her shoulder. "Mom, I'm here, baby. Is it really over?" Elena thought about Cooper in handcuffs, about Jake going back to prison, about the angels who'd risked everything to save them, about Marcus driving toward his daughter after 7 years of silence. "Yeah," she said softly. "It's really over." "What happens now?" Elena looked at the rising sun at the town she'd almost died to protect at the future stretching out before them. "Now we live Tyler. We finally get to live." 3 days later, Elena returned to work. The hospital was different now. People who'd avoided her eyes before now nodded in greeting. Colleagues who'd whispered behind her back now stopped to chat. Even Gerald Foster, the board chairman who'd fired her personally, apologized. "We were wrong about you, Ms. Martinez. I hope you can forgive us." Elena wasn't sure she could, but she smiled and said the right things and got back to doing what she did best, helping people who were hurt. The town was changing too. With Cooper gone, the fear that had gripped Cedar Ridge for years began to lift. People talked more openly. Businesses that had been struggling started to recover. The angels once feared and hated were now treated with cautious respect. It helped that Rocco announced a new initiative. The club would fund a community center providing after-school programs for kids and job training for adults. The money came from their recreational fund, a polite way of saying they were redirecting resources from less legal activities. "We're not becoming saints," Rocco told Elena during one of his visits, "but maybe we can be something better than what we were." Marcus spent most of his time with Lily. Their reunion had been difficult. Tears, accusations, painful truths that had festered for 7 years. But they were working through it day by day, conversation by conversation. Elena saw them sometimes walking through town together. Lily was tall like her father, with the same pale blue eyes, but softer somehow, less guarded. She'd started volunteering at the hospital, drawn by a desire to help that Elena recognized. "She's studying to be a social worker," Marcus told Elena one afternoon. "Wants to help kids who've been through trauma." "That's wonderful." "Yeah." His voice was thick with emotion. "I don't deserve her, but I'm grateful for every minute I get." His health was declining. Elena could see it in the way he moved, the color that kept draining from his face, the cough that was getting worse. The cancer was advancing unstoppable despite the best efforts of modern medicine. But he wasn't giving up. "I've got plans," he told her. "Things I want to do well before." "Like what?" "Like testifying before Congress, about veteran suicide, about the VA system that failed me and a million others." His jaw set with determination. "Danny died because no one listened. I'm not going to let that be the end of the story. That's a big undertaking. I've got help." He glanced toward Lily, who was talking with Tyler across the room. "She's been making calls, setting up meetings. Turns out my daughter's got a gift for political organizing." Elena smiled. "Apple doesn't fall far." "Don't know where she got it. Certainly not from me. Maybe it was always there, just needed the right cause to bring it out." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Elena, I need to ask you something." "Anything." "When I testify, if I make it that far, I want you to come with me. Be there. Tell your brother's story alongside mine." Elena's breath caught. "Carlos, he was a hero too. He died trying to do the right thing. The world should know about him." She thought about her brother, about the truth she'd finally learned, about the legacy he'd left behind, not a legacy of shame, but of courage. "Yes," she said, "I'll do it." A week later, the custody hearing finally happened. With Jake back in prison and Cooper's conspiracy exposed, the outcome was never really in doubt. The judge ruled in Elena's favor within minutes, granting her full custody of Tyler with no visitation rights for Jake. "He'll be eligible for parole in 15 years, the judge noted. "At that time, he can petition for limited contact. But until then, you and your son are free from any legal obligation to him." 15 years. Tyler would be 27, a grown man. Whatever relationship he chose to have or not have with his father would be his decision. Thank you, Your Honor. Outside the courthouse, Tyler threw his arms around her. It's really over now, isn't it? It's really over. Mom. He pulled back, his expression serious. I've been thinking about something. What's that? About what I want to do when I grow up. Before all this, I wasn't sure. But now, he took a deep breath. I want to be a journalist. I want to tell stories like this one. Stories about people who fight back, people who don't give up. Elena felt tears prick her eyes. I think that's a wonderful idea, honey. Marcus said he'd help. Introduce me to some people he knows. Tyler's face lit up. He said good stories can change the world, that the right words at the right time can make a difference. He's right. Mom. Tyler hesitated. Do you like him, Marcus? I mean, Elena thought about the wounded man she'd found in a ditch, about the monster she'd expected and the broken human she'd discovered instead, about the way he looked at her, the way he made her feel not rescued but seen. I think I do, she admitted. Is that okay? Tyler considered this seriously the way he considered everything. I think so, he finally said. He's different from Dad, different from anyone I've ever met. He's scary sometimes, but not scary at us. Scary for us. He shrugged. That seems like a good thing. Elena laughed, pulling her son close. When did you get so wise? Must have learned it somewhere. That night, Elena found Marcus on her porch, staring at the stars. Couldn't sleep, he said without turning around. Too much going on in my head. Want to talk about it? He was silent for a long moment. I got the results today, from the oncologist. Elena's heart clenched. And 2 months, maybe 3. His voice was steady, matter-of-fact. The cancer's spread to my liver. There's nothing more they can do. She moved to stand beside him, their shoulders almost touching. I'm sorry, Marcus. Don't be. I've made my peace with it. He finally looked at her. I just wish... What? I wish I'd met you earlier, 20 years ago, before all the bad choices and the wasted time. His eyes glistened in the starlight. You make me want to be something I never thought I could be. And what's that? Good. The word hung between them. Just good. Elena reached out and took his hand. You are good, Marcus. You've always had it in you. It just took someone believing in it to bring it out. You believed in me when no one else did, not even myself. That's what people do for each other, the ones who matter anyway. They stood there in silence, hands intertwined, watching the stars wheel overhead. I'm going to D.C., Marcus said finally. Next month, for the testimony. I know. The doctors say the trip might kill me. I know that too. Are you still coming? Elena squeezed his hand. Wild horses couldn't stop me. Marcus smiled, a real smile, the kind that transformed his weathered face into something almost beautiful. Then let's make it count. The next morning, Elena woke to the sound of motorcycles. Not 1 or 2, dozens. She ran to the window and felt her breath catch. The street in front of her house was filled with Hell's Angels, not just from Cedar Ridge patches from Montana, Colorado, Utah, California. Bikers she'd never seen before, all gathered in silent formation. Rocco stood at the front, his expression solemn. Elena threw on clothes and rushed outside. What is this? What's happening? This, Rocco said, is the family. All of it. Or at least as much as could make it on short notice. But why? Marcus appeared beside her, Lily at his side. He looked as stunned as Elena felt. They're here for me, he said quietly. We heard about the testimony, Rocco explained, about what you're planning to do, and we decided if Ghost is going to war, he's not going alone. Elena looked at the assembled riders, hundreds of them, now filling the street, their engines idling in perfect synchronization. You're all going to D.C. Every last one of us, Rocco's voice carried across the gathering, because that's what brothers do. We ride together. We fight together, and if necessary, we die together. The response came from 100 throats at once. Marcus stood frozen, overwhelmed by the display. I don't know what to say. Then don't say anything. Rocco gripped his shoulder. Just ride, brother. One last time. Elena watched the tears stream down Marcus's face, this hard man, this dying warrior finally understanding that he wasn't alone. Had never been alone. And standing there surrounded by chrome and leather and loyalty, she understood something too. Family wasn't blood. It wasn't paperwork or legal documents. Family was the people who showed up, the ones who fought for you, the ones who refused to let you face the darkness alone. She'd found her family in the most unexpected place, and she was never letting go. The convoy stretched for 3 miles. Elena had never seen anything like it. Hundreds of motorcycles moving as one, their engines creating a thunder that shook the earth. Cars pulled to the side of the road to let them pass. People stood on overpasses watching in stunned silence. She rode in an SUV near the front, Tyler beside her, Lily driving. Marcus was in a support vehicle behind them. The doctors had forbidden him from riding, though he'd fought the decision until Lily threatened to handcuff him to the truck. Look at this. Tyler breathed, his camera pressed to the window. Mom, look at them all. Elena looked. Angels from every chapter, every state converging on the capital. Men who'd spent their lives being feared, being hated, now riding together for something bigger than themselves. Your uncle would have loved this, she said quietly. Tyler lowered his camera. Tell me about him again. About Carlos. So she did. For the 100th time, she told the story of her brave, foolish, wonderful brother. But this time it felt different. This time the story had an ending that wasn't just tragedy. This time there was hope. They stopped twice for fuel and food. Each time the convoy drew crowds, some curious, some hostile, most simply amazed. News crews began following them outside Kansas City. By the time they crossed into Missouri, they were trending on social media. Ride with Ghost, #veterans, deserve better. One last ride. Marcus watched the coverage from his phone, shaking his head in disbelief. I don't understand it, he told Elena during one of their stops. Why do people care? I'm just some dying biker. You're not just anything. Elena sat beside him, careful not to jostle his IV line. The portable infusion pump hummed quietly, keeping his pain manageable. You're speaking for millions of people who've been forgotten. That matters. Danny would laugh his ass off if he could see this. Would he? Marcus thought about it. No, he wouldn't. His voice thickened. He'd probably cry, and then he'd punch me for waiting so long. Sounds like a good friend. The best. Marcus closed his eyes. I'm tired, Elena, so damn tired. Rest. We've got another 12 hours until DC. Will you stay, just for a while? Elena took his hand. I'm not going anywhere. He was asleep within minutes. Lily appeared in the doorway of the support vehicle, her expression worried. How is he, Mo? Holding on. Elena didn't sugarcoat it. But the trip is taking its toll. The doctors said, I know what they said. He knows too. Elena met Lily's eyes. He's choosing this. We have to respect that. Lily sank into a seat across from them. I spent 7 years hating him, 7 years thinking he abandoned me because I wasn't worth staying for. She wiped her eyes. And now I'm watching him kill himself trying to do something good. He's not killing himself. He's dying anyway. The difference is how he spends what's left. That doesn't make it easier. No, it doesn't. They sat in silence watching Marcus sleep. He talks about you, Lily said finally. When you're not around. Says you're the reason he's still fighting. Elena's heart clenched. He's the reason I'm still fighting too. Do you love him? The question hung in the air between them. I don't know, Elena admitted. I've known him for 3 weeks. That's not enough time to... My mom fell in love with him in 2 days. Lily's voice was wistful. She always said she knew the moment she saw him that he was the one, even knowing what he was, even knowing the life she was choosing. What happened to her? Cancer. Same as him. She died when I was 16. Lily looked at her father's sleeping form. He disappeared into the club after that, became someone I didn't recognize. The dad who used to take me fishing and teach me to ride, he just vanished. Grief does that to people. I know that now. I didn't then. Lily took a shaky breath. I just wish we hadn't wasted so much time. You have time now. Use it. That's what I keep telling myself. Lily stood moving to sit beside her father. She took his other hand, completing a circle. Thank you, Elena, for saving him, for giving us this chance. Elena watched father and daughter bound by blood and history and pain. Thank you for forgiving him. That's the harder gift. They reached Washington, D.C. at sunset. The convoy rolled into the Capitol like an invading army, 500 motorcycles, 100 support vehicles, and enough noise to wake the dead. Police escorts led them to a staging area near the Capitol where a crowd had already gathered. Reporters, cameras, protesters both for and against, and veterans. Hundreds of them drawn by the news coverage, by the hashtags, by the promise of finally being heard. Marcus climbed out of the support vehicle, waving off offers of a wheelchair. I'll walk into that building on my own 2 feet, he insisted. Or I'll crawl, but I won't be wheeled in like an invalid. Rocco appeared beside him, ready to catch him if he fell. You stubborn son of a... Save it. Marcus managed a weak smile. You love me, and you know it. Unfortunately, Rocco's gruff exterior cracked. You ready for this? No, but I'm doing it anyway. The crowd parted as they approached. Veterans reached out to touch Marcus, to thank him, to tell him their own stories in quick, desperate whispers. My son killed himself last year. The VA wouldn't see him. I've been waiting 18 months for a disability claim. Nobody listens to us. Nobody cares. Marcus stopped for each one, looked them in the eye, promised that tomorrow someone would listen. Elena walked beside him, Tyler on her other side. Lily brought up the rear, flanked by angels who watched the crowd for threats. At the Capitol steps, a congressional aide met them. Mr. Brennan, I'm Lisa Chen with Senator Williams' office. We're ready for you. How many people are watching? Lisa hesitated. The hearing is being live-streamed. Current estimates are around 2 million viewers. Marcus nodded slowly. Good. Let's not keep them waiting. The hearing room was packed. Senators sat behind a raised dais, their expressions ranging from supportive to skeptical. Cameras lined the walls. In the gallery, veterans filled every available seat with hundreds more watching on screens in overflow rooms. Elena took her place behind Marcus, her hand on his shoulder. She could feel him trembling, not from fear, but from the effort of staying upright. You can do this, she whispered. Stay close. Always. The chairman banged his gavel. This hearing of the Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs will come to order. Our witness today is Marcus Brennan, a decorated Army Ranger and current member of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. Mr. Brennan has requested the opportunity to testify about the VA's treatment of veterans and the epidemic of veteran suicide. The chairman's expression was neutral. Mr. Brennan, you may proceed. Marcus leaned forward, his voice surprisingly strong for a dying man. Thank you, Senator. I'll be brief. I don't have a lot of time left in more ways than one. A murmur rippled through the room. My name is Marcus Brennan. They call me Ghost. I served 3 tours in Afghanistan as an Army Ranger sniper. I was decorated for valor. I was honored for my service. And when I came home broken, my country threw me away like garbage. He paused, letting the words sink in. I'm not here to ask for pity. I made my choices. I joined a motorcycle club that the government calls a criminal organization. I did things I'm not proud of. But I want you to understand why. I want you to understand how a decorated veteran ends up wearing a death head patch instead of a flag on his shoulder. The room was silent. When I came back from Afghanistan, I was a mess. PTSD, night terror, survivor's guilt, the whole package. I went to the VA for help. You know what they told me? The next available appointment was in 6 months. 6 months of waking up screaming. 6 months of not being able to hold a job or maintain a relationship. 6 months of my life falling apart while I waited for someone to care. Marcus's voice hardened. So I found people who did care. Brothers who'd been through the same thing. Men who understood what it meant to kill and to watch friends die. The club became my family because the country I'd fought for had no place for me. He looked directly at the cameras. I'm dying. Pancreatic cancer. I've got maybe 2 months left. But before I go, I need you to hear me. I need you to hear all of us. Marcus pulled out a piece of paper, his hands shaking. These are names. 23 names. All veterans I served with or met through the club. All dead. Not from enemy fire. Not from IEDs. From suicide. From overdoses. From the slow death of being forgotten. He began to read. Daniel Morrison. Sergeant. 2 tours. Killed himself in his garage after the VA denied his disability claim for the 3rd time. James Rodriguez. Staff Sergeant. 3 Purple Hearts. Overdosed on painkillers when he couldn't get mental health support. Thomas Williams. Private First Class. 22 years old. Shot himself 6 weeks after coming home because no one told him it was okay to not be okay. By the time Marcus finished reading all 23 names, he was crying. So were half the people in the room. 22 veterans take their own lives every single day, Marcus said. Every single day. That's not a statistic. That's a goddamn massacre. And it's happening while we sit in hearings and write reports and pretend that we're doing enough. He slammed his hand on the table. We're not doing enough. We're failing them. I'm dying anyway. I've got nothing left to lose. So I'm going to say what everyone's thinking. The VA is broken. The system is broken. And until we fix it, we're going to keep burying our heroes in flag-draped coffins while politicians give speeches about their sacrifice. The chairman leaned forward. Mr. Brennan, what would you have us do? Fund mental health services. Real ones. Not 6-month waiting lists and 15-minute appointments. Hire more counselors. Hire veterans to counsel veterans. Create peer support programs that actually work. Marcus's voice grew stronger with every word. Stop treating us like numbers on a spreadsheet and start treating us like human beings who gave everything for this country. He turned to look at Elena. I want to introduce someone. Her name is Elena Martinez. She's a nurse. 2 weeks ago, she found me dying on the side of the road. Any sane person would have driven past. I'm a Hell's Angel, for God's sake. But she stopped. She saved my life, and she's been fighting for me ever since. Elena felt every eye in the room turn to her. Elena has a story too, Marcus continued. About her brother, about what this broken system cost her family. I'd like her to tell it. The chairman nodded. Ms. Martinez, please approach. Elena's legs felt like water as she walked to the witness table. She sat beside Marcus, her heart pounding. Take your time, he whispered. Tell them the truth. She looked at the cameras, at the millions of people watching. Thought about Carlos. Thought about her mother. Thought about every sacrifice that had led to this moment. And she began to speak. My brother's name was Carlos Martinez. He was 23 years old when he died. For 5 years, I believed he was killed because he got involved with drugs, because he made bad choices, because he wasn't the person I thought he was. Her voice cracked, but she pushed through. 3 weeks ago, I learned the truth. Carlos wasn't a drug dealer. He was an informant. He was working with the DEA to expose corruption in our town, a sheriff who was running drugs through his own department. And when Carlos got too close to the truth, that sheriff had him murdered. Gasps echoed through the room. Carlos was a veteran too. 2 years in the Army before a training accident ended his service. He came home looking for purpose, looking for a way to make a difference. Elena wiped her eyes. He found it, and it killed him. She looked directly at the senators. I'm not here to ask for justice for my brother. The man who killed him is in custody. Justice is coming. I'm here to tell you that Carlos isn't unique. There are thousands of veterans like him, people who come home from war wanting to serve, wanting to matter and finding a system that doesn't know what to do with them. She reached over and took Marcus's hand. This man saved my son's life. He's dying, and instead of spending his last weeks with his daughter, he's here, begging you to do your jobs. Her voice hardened. He shouldn't have to beg. None of them should. They served. They sacrificed. They deserve better than waiting lists and bureaucracy and empty promises. Elena stood, her whole body trembling. My brother died a hero. Marcus is dying a hero. The question is, what are you going to do about it? She returned to her seat, shaking. Marcus squeezed her hand under the table. That was perfect, he whispered. The hearing continued for another 2 hours. Senators asked questions. Veterans testified. Statistics were presented, analyzed, debated. But Elena knew the moment that would matter, the moment that would change everything, had already happened. 2 people telling their truth. 2 broken lives demanding to be heard. The rest was just noise. After the hearing, they were mobbed. Reporters shouting questions. Veterans wanting to share their stories. Politicians seeking photo opportunities. The chaos was overwhelming. Marcus handled it like the soldier he was, answering questions, shaking hands, never losing his composure. But Elena could see the cost. Each minute drained him further. Each interaction took something he couldn't spare. Finally, Rocco intervened. That's enough. He needs rest. They retreated to a hotel that the club had secured. The entire floor was filled with angels, standing guard like medieval knights protecting their king. Marcus collapsed onto the bed the moment they were alone. I can't feel my legs, he admitted. Elena checked his vitals. His blood pressure was dangerously low. His pulse was weak and thready. You pushed too hard. I had to. This was my one shot. Marcus, don't. He grabbed her hand. Don't tell me I should have been more careful. Don't tell me I'm making things worse. I know all that. But this mattered. This was worth it. Elena wanted to argue, wanted to scream at him for being so reckless with the time he had left. Instead, she just held his hand. The testimony is trending, Lily reported from her phone. #1 worldwide, 50 million views and climbing. What are people saying? Marcus asked. They're angry. At the VA, at the government, at everyone who's been ignoring this. Lily's eyes glistened. They're calling you a hero, Dad. I'm not a hero. Tell that to the million people who just commented that you changed their minds. Tyler appeared in the doorway, his face flushed with excitement. Mom, you have to see this. Senator Williams just announced emergency legislation. They're calling it the Ghost Act, funding for veteran mental health services. It's going to the floor next week. Marcus closed his eyes. Danny, he whispered. We did it, brother. We finally did it. Elena felt tears streaming down her face. You did it, Marcus. You. No. He opened his eyes, looking at her with such intensity it took her breath away. We did it. All of us. Together. The next morning, everything fell apart. Elena woke to the sound of alarms. Medical alarms. Coming from Marcus's room. She ran. Lily was already there, screaming for help. Marcus was seizing on the bed, his body convulsing violently. Get the medics! Elena shouted, falling into crisis mode. Now, she turned Marcus on his side, protecting his airway, counting the seconds. 30. 45. A full minute of violent shaking before it finally stopped. He went limp. Marcus. Lily grabbed his face. Dad? Dad, can you hear me? His eyes fluttered open, unfocused, confused. Where? Elena. I'm here. I'm right here. She checked his pulse. Still weak. Getting weaker. The seizure was caused by the cancer spreading. It's in his brain now. What does that mean? Lily demanded. Elena couldn't answer, couldn't say the words out loud. The medics arrived. They worked quickly, efficiently, stabilizing Marcus as best they could. But Elena knew, they all knew, there was only so much that could be done. He needs a hospital, the lead medic said. A real one, with oncology support. No hospitals. Marcus's voice was barely audible, but firm. I'm not dying in some sterile room surrounded by strangers. Dad, I want to go home, back to Cedar Ridge. He found Elena's face held her gaze. Please. Elena looked at Lily, at Tyler standing in the doorway with tears on his cheeks, at the angels crowding the hallway, their hard faces soft with grief. We'll take you home, she said. I promise. The ride back was different. No crowds this time, no cameras, just a convoy of broken men escorting their dying brother home. They drove through the night, taking shifts behind the wheel, never stopping longer than necessary. Marcus drifted in and out of consciousness, sometimes lucid, sometimes confused. During one of his clear moments, he called Tyler to his side. Hey, kid? Tyler approached carefully, afraid of disturbing the medical equipment. Yeah. I need to ask you something. Anything. Marcus reached out and took the boy's hand. When I'm gone, and I'm going soon, don't pretend otherwise. I need you to do something for me. What? Take care of your mom. She's going to pretend she's fine. She's going to throw herself into work and helping everyone else. But she's going to be hurting, and she needs someone who sees through the pretending. Marcus's grip tightened. Can you do that? Tyler nodded, unable to speak. You're a good kid, better than I ever was. Marcus smiled weakly. You're going to do great things, Tyler. I can feel it. Just promise me you'll remember the best stories are the ones that tell the truth, even when it hurts. I promise. Good. Now go get your mom. I need to talk to her. Tyler ran to find Elena. She came immediately, her face drawn with exhaustion and fear. Marcus? Sit with me. She did, taking the seat beside his bed. I don't have a speech prepared, he said. Guess I used them all up in Washington. You don't need a speech. No, I guess I don't. He was quiet for a moment. I've been thinking about regrets, about all the things I wish I'd done differently. Don't do this. Don't say goodbye. I have to. While I still can. His hand found hers. Leaving Lily was my biggest mistake. I told myself I was protecting her, but I was really just being a coward, running from the hard thing because it was easier than facing it. Marcus, let me finish. His voice was urgent. I don't want to die with any more cowardice on my conscience, so I need to tell you something. Elena waited, her heart pounding. I love you. The words hung in the air between them. I know it's crazy. I know we've only known each other a few weeks. I know I'm dying and you're going to move on and have a whole life after this. He squeezed her hand. But I love you, and I wanted you to know before I couldn't say it anymore. Elena couldn't breathe. You don't have to say it back, Marcus continued. I don't expect. I love you too. He stopped, stared at her. What? I love you too, you stubborn, impossible, infuriating man. Tears streamed down her face. I've been trying not to, telling myself it was too fast, too complicated, too impossible, but I can't help it. I love you. Marcus smiled, a real smile, the kind that transformed his weathered face. Well, damn, he said. That wasn't supposed to happen. Despite everything, the grief, the fear, the weight of what was coming, Elena laughed. No, she agreed. It wasn't. They reached Cedar Ridge at dawn. The whole town was waiting. People lined the streets, standing in silent vigil as the convoy passed. Veterans in uniform, hospital workers still in scrubs, children holding handmade signs. The mayor surrounded by town council members, and at the edge of the crowd the angels who'd stayed behind forming an honor guard for their returning brother. Elena had never seen anything like it. Look at that, Marcus whispered, gazing out the window. All these people. They're here for you. No. He shook his head. They're here for all of us. For everything we've been through together. The convoy stopped in front of Elena's house. Rocco opened the door of the support vehicle, his face carefully neutral. But Elena could see the grief behind his eyes, the knowledge that the end was coming. Welcome home, Ghost. Thanks, brother. They carried him inside, setting him up in Elena's living room. She'd arranged for a hospital bed monitors everything he'd need. The hospice team was on standby. This was where Marcus would die. But first there was one more thing to do. "Get everyone," Marcus told Rocco. "Everyone who can fit. I want to say goodbye." Within the hour, Elena's small house was overflowing. Angels packed the living room, spilling into the kitchen, the hallway, the porch. Veterans from the town stood shoulder to shoulder with townspeople who'd feared the club just weeks ago. Tyler sat on the floor by Marcus's bed, his camera recording everything. Marcus looked at the crowd, overwhelmed. "I had a speech," he said. "I've been working on it for days, but now that I see all of you..." He shook his head. "Words don't seem like enough." "Then don't give a speech," Rocco said. "Just talk to us." Marcus nodded slowly. "When I first put on this patch, I was looking for a family, something to belong to, something bigger than myself." He touched the death head on his vest. "I found it. I found brothers who'd die for me, who almost did more than once." He looked at Elena. "And then I found something else. Something I didn't know I was looking for. A woman who saw past the leather and the tattoos and the reputation, who saw me, the real me, the broken, dying, desperate man behind the mask." His gaze shifted to Lily. "A daughter I pushed away because I was too scared to let her watch me fall apart. A daughter who came back anyway, who forgave me even though I didn't deserve it." He looked at Tyler. "A kid who reminded me why I started fighting in the first place. Who's going to tell stories that matter? Who's going to make sure none of this was wasted?" Marcus took a deep breath, struggling for air. "I'm dying. Everyone knows that. But I'm not dying alone. And I'm not dying having wasted the time I had left." He smiled. "That's more than I ever expected. More than I ever deserved." "You deserve everything," Elena whispered. "No, but I got it anyway." He looked around the room one last time. "Take care of each other. That's all I ask. Take care of each other the way you took care of me." Rocco stepped forward, his voice thick. "We will, brother. Every damn day." The crowd began to disperse, but slowly. Everyone wanted one more moment, one more touch, one more chance to say goodbye. As the room emptied, Elena found herself alone with Marcus. He was fading. She could see it in the way his breathing slowed, the way his eyes kept drifting closed. "Stay with me," she whispered. "Always," he managed. "Even after. I'll be watching over you. Promise." "You'd better." He smiled one last time, and then his eyes closed. Elena held his hand through the night. She didn't sleep, didn't eat, just sat beside him, counting his breaths, memorizing his face. Lily joined her at some point, taking her father's other hand. Tyler fell asleep on the floor, still clutching his camera. Outside, the angels kept watch, an endless vigil of chrome and leather and loyalty. And as the first light of dawn crept through the windows, Marcus Ghost Brennan took his last breath. Elena felt it the moment his hand went limp, the moment his chest stopped rising, the moment everything changed. "He's gone," she whispered. Lily's sob broke the silence. Then from outside a sound, not crying, not screaming, engines. 500 motorcycles revving in unison, a thunder of grief and honor shaking the very ground. Elena walked to the window and looked out. The angels were lined up as far as she could see. Every one of them had removed their helmets, holding them over their hearts. Rocco stood at the front, tears streaming down his face. "Ride free, Ghost," he called out. "Ride free, brother." The engines roared once more, and then silence. The man who had been a monster, a stranger, a dying ghost, was finally at peace. And the woman who had saved him stood at the window, watching the sun rise, knowing that nothing would ever be the same. Elena didn't cry at the funeral. She wanted to. God, she wanted to. But something held the tears back, a strange, fierce pride that refused to let her break. Not here, not in front of the 500 people who'd come to say goodbye. The church couldn't hold them all. Half the crowd stood outside, listening through speakers that Rocco had set up. Angels from every chapter in the country, veterans from every branch of service, politicians who'd flown in from Washington. And the people of Cedar Ridge, the same people who'd feared and hated the club just weeks ago, standing shoulder to shoulder with men in leather vests. Marcus would have hated the attention. He would have grumbled about the fuss, insisted he didn't deserve it. But he wasn't here to object anymore. So, Elena stood at the front of the church, Tyler on one side, Lily on the other, and listened as person after person spoke about the man she'd loved. Rocco went first. "Ghost was my brother for 23 years, he said, his gruff voice thick with emotion. "I watched him do things that would make your hair curl. I watched him fight, bleed, nearly die more times than I can count, but I never not once saw him quit. Not when the army threw him away. Not when the cancer came. Not even at the end." He paused, looking at Elena. The last few weeks of his life were different, better, because of a woman who had every reason to hate him and chose to save him instead. Rocco's voice cracked. "He told me once that Elena showed him what courage really looks like. Not the kind you need in a fight. The kind you need to change." Lily spoke next. "I spent 7 years angry at my father. 7 years telling myself I didn't need him, didn't want him, was better off without him." She wiped her eyes. "I was wrong. I was so wrong. And I almost missed my chance to tell him." She looked at Elena. "But someone gave him back to me. Someone showed him it wasn't too late to be the father I needed." Lily's voice strengthened. "My dad died a hero. Not because of the testimony or the legislation or the news coverage, because he finally became the man he was always supposed to be, and I got to see it happen." Then it was Elena's turn. She walked to the podium on legs that felt like water, looked out at the crowd, the bikers, the veterans, the townspeople, her son, all waiting. "I don't have a speech prepared," she said. "Marcus used all the good ones in Washington." Soft laughter rippled through the church. "What I have is a story about a rainy night 3 weeks ago when I found a dying man in a ditch and made a choice that changed everything." She gripped the podium, steadying herself. "I should have kept driving. Every logical part of my brain told me to. This man was a Hell's Angel. His club had destroyed my family. My brother was dead because of people like him." She paused. "But I stopped anyway. Because I'm a nurse. Because I couldn't let another person die alone in the dark." Elena looked at Marcus's casket draped in the American flag he'd earned and the leather vest he'd chosen. "Marcus taught me something in these past few weeks. He taught me that people are more than their worst choices. That redemption isn't just possible, it's necessary. That the only way to break the cycle of hate and fear and violence is to reach out to the people we're supposed to despise and treat them like human beings." Her voice grew stronger. "He also taught me that it's never too late. Never too late to change. Never too late to make amends. Never too late to become someone worth loving." She felt the tears finally coming, but she didn't fight them. Marcus Brennan was a lot of things: a soldier, a criminal, a father, a friend. But to me, he was proof that the human spirit can overcome anything, even itself. She looked directly at Tyler. "My son asked me once why I saved Marcus. I told him it was because I couldn't watch another person die. But that wasn't the whole truth." Elena's voice cracked. "I saved him because some part of me recognized something in him, a brokenness that matched my own, a desperate need to matter, to make a difference, to leave the world better than we found it." She turned back to the crowd. "Marcus is gone, but what he started isn't." The Ghost Act is moving through Congress. Thousands of veterans are finally getting the help they need. A town that was poisoned by corruption is healing. She took a shaky breath. That's his legacy. Not the patch or the reputation or the fear, the change, the hope, the proof that one person, one dying, desperate, impossible person can still change the world. Elena stepped back from the podium. "Ride free, Marcus. I'll see you again someday." The burial was private. Just Elena, Tyler, Lily, and Rocco standing around a grave in the Veterans Cemetery. Marcus had earned the right to be buried here. His military service, however long ago, still counted. They lowered the casket into the ground. Lily threw in a handful of dirt, sobbing quietly. Tyler added a photograph, the one he'd taken of Marcus on the ride to Washington, laughing at something Rocco had said. Elena placed a single white rose on the casket. "I love you," she whispered. "I'll always love you." Rocco was last. He removed his own patch, the death head that marked him as president, and dropped it into the grave. "For the road, brother, in case you need to prove who you are on the other side." They stood in silence as the groundskeepers filled in the grave. When it was done, Rocco turned to Elena. "What now?" She looked at the fresh mound of earth at the headstone that read simply, "Marcus Ghost Brennan. He came back from the dead to find his soul." "Now we keep going," she said. "Now we make sure his death meant something. The club's with you, whatever you need." "I know." Elena met his eyes. "But I need you to do something specific." "Name it." "The community center Marcus wanted to build, the veteran support program, the scholarships." She squared her shoulders. "I want to run them, all of them. I want to make them real." Rocco stared at her for a long moment. Then he smiled. "Ghost always said you were something special. Guess he was right." He extended his hand. "Partners." Elena shook it firmly. "Partners." The first month was chaos. Elena threw herself into work with a fury that bordered on obsession. During the day, she was at the hospital saving lives. Evenings and weekends, she was at the old community center overseeing renovations. Late nights, she was on the phone with politicians, donors, veteran organizations, anyone who could help. Lily became her right hand. Marcus's daughter had inherited his stubbornness and his charm. She handled the media, the fundraising, the endless bureaucratic obstacles. Within weeks, she'd raised more money than anyone thought possible. "People want to help," Lily told Elena during one of their rare quiet moments. "They just needed someone to show them how." Tyler documented everything. His photographs of the renovation angels working alongside townspeople, veterans, teaching construction skills to teenagers, old enemies becoming new friends, went viral. News outlets picked them up. The story of Cedar Ridge's transformation spread across the country. "You're good at this," Elena told her son one evening, reviewing his latest batch of images. "Marcus taught me. He said the best stories are the ones that show people what's possible." He was right. Tyler hesitated. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Always." "Do you regret it, saving him?" Elena thought about everything that had happened. The fear, the pain, the loss. The way her life had been turned upside down. The man she'd loved and lost in the space of 3 weeks. "Not for a second," she said. "Not for one single second." 2 months after the funeral, the Ghost Act passed. Elena watched the vote from the hospital break room, surrounded by colleagues who'd once questioned her judgment. The final tally was 94-6, a landslide that exceeded everyone's expectations. She called Lily immediately. "Did you see it? Did you see?" "I saw." Lily was crying. "Dad did it. He actually did it." "We all did it." Elena wiped her own eyes. "Together." That evening, she went to Marcus's grave. The headstone was weathered now, the engravings starting to fade. But someone had placed fresh flowers there, red and white, the club colors. Elena knelt in the grass. "The act passed," she said softly. 94 votes. Can you believe it? All those senators who ignored veterans for years. Suddenly, they couldn't vote yes fast enough. She touched the cold stone. "Lily's running the foundation full-time now. She's amazing, Marcus. So strong, so smart. You'd be so proud of her." A breeze rustled through the cemetery, carrying the scent of pine. Tyler got accepted to journalism school. Full scholarship. He's going to tell stories that matter, just like you said. Elena smiled through her tears. "He still carries that photograph of you everywhere. The one from the ride." She was quiet for a moment. "I miss you. Every single day I miss you. I keep expecting to see you on my porch, or hear your voice in the hallway, or feel your hand in mine." Her voice broke. "It's not fair. We should have had more time. We should have had years." The wind picked up almost like a response. But I'm not going to waste what we did have. I'm going to keep fighting, keep building, keep proving that what you started wasn't for nothing. Elena stood brushing dirt from her knees. That's my promise to you. Every day for the rest of my life. She placed her hand on the headstone one last time. I love you, Ghost. I always will. Then she walked away toward the future they'd built together. 6 months later, the Ghost Foundation opened its doors. The old community center had been transformed. Counseling rooms, job training facilities, a computer lab, a gym, everything a veteran could need to rebuild their life. And at the center of it all, a memorial wall covered in photographs. Every veteran who'd been lost to suicide. Every life that might have been saved. Marcus's picture was largest right in the middle. The opening ceremony drew hundreds of people. Governor Williams cut the ribbon. Mayor Walsh gave a speech. But it was Rocco who captured the moment best. 15 years ago, if you'd told me the Hells Angels would be opening a community center, I'd have laughed you out of the room, he said, his voice carrying across the crowd. We were outlaws, criminals, the kind of people decent folks crossed the street to avoid. He paused, looking at the building behind him. But one woman changed that. One woman who saw a dying man in a ditch and decided that hate wasn't worth carrying anymore. One woman who proved that courage isn't about fighting. It's about loving when everything tells you not to. He looked at Elena standing beside Tyler and Lily. This center exists because of her. Because of her brother Carlos, who died trying to do the right thing. Because of Marcus, who spent his last days making sure nobody else had to die forgotten. Rocco's voice strengthened. And because of all of you, every person who chose hope over fear, connection over isolation, love over hate. He raised his fist. This is Ghost's legacy. This is our legacy. And it's just the beginning. The crowd erupted in cheers. Elena stood in the middle of it all, tears streaming down her face. They'd done it. They'd really done it. And somewhere she knew Marcus was watching. The first year was hard. Elena learned that building something new was even harder than tearing something old down. There were setbacks, failures, moments when she wanted to give up. Veterans who came for help but couldn't be reached. Funding that fell through at the last minute. Critics who insisted the whole project was a waste of time. But she kept going. Because every time she wanted to quit, she'd see a veteran walk through the doors for the first time. She'd watch their guarded expressions soften as they realized this place was safe. She'd hear them say for the first time in years, "Maybe I'm not alone." That made everything worth it. Lily became the face of the foundation, appearing on news shows, speaking at conferences, lobbying politicians for continued funding. She had Marcus's intensity and her mother's warmth, a combination that made her impossible to ignore. My father spent his life running from his past, she told a packed auditorium at a veterans advocacy conference. But in the end, he ran toward it, toward the pain, toward the truth, and he proved that the only way to heal is to stop hiding. Tyler graduated from journalism school a year early. His thesis project, a documentary about the transformation of Cedar Ridge, won national awards. Studios offered him jobs. Publications begged for interviews. But Tyler turned them all down. "I'm staying here," he told Elena. "This is where the real stories are." He took a job at the local paper, covering the community that had become his family. His articles about veterans, about recovery, about second chances, reached audiences far beyond Cedar Ridge. "You're making a difference," Elena told him one evening reading his latest piece. "That's the goal." Tyler smiled, a grown-up smile, confident and calm. "Marcus told me once that the right words at the right time can change everything. I'm trying to find those words." "I think you already have." On the first anniversary of Marcus's death, Elena organized a memorial ride. 500 motorcycles gathered in Cedar Ridge just like they had the year before. But this time, they weren't riding to Washington. They were riding through every town Marcus had ever touched, every place where his story had made a difference. Elena rode at the front, Rocco beside her. She'd learned to handle a motorcycle in the months since Marcus's death. It had felt wrong at first, like she was intruding on something that didn't belong to her. But as she got more comfortable, she began to understand why he'd loved it so much. The freedom, the wind, the feeling of being part of something bigger than yourself. They rode for 3 days. At every stop, crowds gathered. Veterans, families, ordinary people who'd heard the story and wanted to pay their respects. They lit candles, shared memories, made donations to the foundation. By the end of the ride, they'd raised over $2 million. Marcus would be embarrassed, Rocco said, surveying the final tally. Marcus would be proud, Elena corrected, even if he'd never admit it. The second year brought changes Elena hadn't expected. Sheriff Cooper's trial ended with a guilty verdict on all counts. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. The day the verdict came down, Elena visited Carlos's grave for the first time in months. "Justice," she said simply. "Finally." Jake tried to reach out from prison. Letters, phone calls, even a request for visitation. Elena ignored them all. Some wounds couldn't be healed. Some people didn't deserve second chances. Tyler understood without being told. "He's not my father," he said one day apropos of nothing. "Not really. He's just someone who hurt us." "Who's your father then?" Tyler thought about it. "Marcus, I guess. As much as anyone." He shrugged. "He taught me more in 3 weeks than Jake did in 12 years. Elena pulled her son into a hug. "He would have loved to hear you say that." Lily got married the following spring. She'd met someone at a veterans advocacy conference, a former Marine named David, who'd lost both legs in Afghanistan. They'd bonded over shared grief and found something neither had expected: hope. Elena stood as Lily's maid of honor, watching Marcus's daughter walk down the aisle in a white dress that made her look like her father's best dreams come true. "I wish he could see this," Lily whispered before the ceremony. "He can," Elena said. "I'm sure of it." The reception was held at the community center. Angels mingled with Marines. Veterans danced with townspeople. Children ran between tables while their parents laughed and cried and celebrated. Rocco found Elena near the memorial wall, staring at Marcus's photograph. "You okay?" "I'm perfect," she smiled. "Just thinking. About how much has changed. How much is still changing." She turned to face him. 3 years ago, I was a scared single mom, barely holding my life together. Now look at this." She gestured at the celebration around them. "You built something incredible, Elena. Ghost would be damn proud. We built it, all of us." She touched Marcus's photograph gently. "He just showed us where to start." The third year brought Tyler's wedding. He married a young woman named Sarah, a social worker he'd met through the foundation. She was kind, fierce, and absolutely unafraid of the complicated family she was marrying into. "You're gaining a son-in-law who hangs out with bikers," Tyler warned her before the ceremony. "Please, I've met Rocco. He cried at our engagement party." "That's supposed to be a secret." Too late. The wedding was small, just family and close friends. But family had come to mean something much larger than blood. Angels in formal vests stood beside nurses in their finest dresses. Veterans mingled with politicians. Mayor Walsh sat next to Rocco. The two of them engaged in a surprisingly animated conversation about zoning regulations. Elena watched it all with wonder. This was what Marcus had dreamed of. Not just a foundation or a memorial, a community, a family, a proof that broken people could come together and build something beautiful. When Tyler and Sarah exchanged vows, Elena finally let herself cry. Happy tears, proud tears, the kind of tears that meant everything was exactly as it should be. On the 5th anniversary of Marcus's death, Elena made a decision. She stood at his grave, the Wyoming wind whipping at her hair, and spoke to him like she had every year since he'd gone. "I'm retiring from nursing," she said. "Not completely, I'll still volunteer at the clinic, but the foundation needs me full-time now. We're opening centers in 3 more states. The Ghost Act got extended and expanded. There's so much work to do." She knelt in the grass, her fingers tracing the weathered letters of his name. "Lily's pregnant. Did I tell you that your first grandchild? A little girl. They're naming her Hope. Elena laughed softly. You'd make the worst grandfather you know. Spoiling her rotten, teaching her to ride motorcycles, telling her stories about the bad old days. The wind rustled through the trees. Tyler won another award for his documentary about veteran suicide. Some fancy thing from the Journalism Society. He pretended he didn't care, but I saw his face when they called his name. She smiled. He's so much like you. The stubbornness, the determination, the way he refuses to give up on anyone. I think you'd like the man he's become. Elena was quiet for a moment. The town voted to rename the main street, Ghost Boulevard. Can you believe it? The same street where people used to cross to the other side when they saw your brothers coming. Now there's a mural of you on the old bank building. Kids take pictures in front of it. She stood brushing dirt from her knees. I still miss you. Every single day. But it's different now. Not the sharp, cutting grief from the beginning. More like a quiet ache. A reminder that you were real, that what we had was real, that love doesn't end just because someone dies. A motorcycle rumbled in the distance. Elena smiled. Rocco's waiting. We're doing the memorial ride again, bigger than ever this year. 2,000 bikes. They're coming from everywhere. From overseas even. Veterans who heard your testimony, who saw what we built, who wanted to be part of something good. She placed her hand on the headstone one final time. You did that, Marcus. You showed people what was possible. And they're still following your lead 5 years later. That's the kind of legacy most people only dream about. The motorcycle engine grew louder. I have to go, but I'll be back. I always come back. Elena leaned down and kissed the cold stone. I love you, Ghost. Today, tomorrow, forever. She walked toward the waiting motorcycle, toward the road ahead, toward the future they'd built together. At the cemetery gate, Rocco handed her a helmet. Ready? Elena looked back at Marcus's grave one last time. Then she climbed onto the bike, wrapped her arms around Rocco's waist, and nodded. Let's ride. The memorial ride stretched for miles. 2,000 motorcycles, their engines creating a thunder that shook the earth. They rode through Cedar Ridge, past the foundation, past the hospital, past the spot on Route 7, where Elena had found Marcus in a ditch 5 years ago. At that spot, they stopped. Elena walked to the edge of the road, to the exact place where she'd knelt in the mud, and made a choice that changed everything. The crowd fell silent. 5 years ago, I found a dying man right here, she said, her voice carrying across the gathered riders. Everything in me said to keep driving, to leave him for someone else, to protect myself and my son from the trouble he represented. She looked at the faces around her Angels Veterans townspeople, strangers who'd traveled thousands of miles to be here. But I stopped, because I believed even then, even before I knew him, that everyone deserves a chance, that compassion is stronger than fear, that the world changes one choice at a time. Elena turned to face the horizon. Marcus Brennan was a lot of things, not all of them good. He made mistakes that hurt people. He carried guilt that nearly destroyed him. But in the end, he became something more. He became proof that redemption is real, that it's never too late to matter. She raised her voice. That's what this ride is about. That's what the foundation is about. Not mourning the dead, but honoring them by living differently, by choosing kindness when it's hard, by reaching out to the people society throws away, by refusing to give up on anyone, including ourselves. The crowd murmured in agreement. Marcus asked me once why I saved him. I told him it was because I'm a nurse, because helping people is what I do. But that wasn't the whole truth. Elena looked at the sky, at the clouds drifting overhead like distant promises. The truth is, I saved him because I needed saving too. We all do. We're all broken in some way, carrying wounds that nobody sees. And the only cure for that brokenness is connection, reaching out, being brave enough to love when everything tells us not to. She turned back to the crowd. Marcus taught me that. In 3 short weeks, he taught me more about courage and hope and love than I'd learned in 30 years. Her voice cracked but held steady. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure that lesson isn't wasted. She walked back to her motorcycle, climbed on, and started the engine. For Ghost, Rocco shouted. For Ghost! 2,000 voices answered, and the convoy roared back to life, carrying Elena forward into a world that Marcus had helped reshape one act of impossible compassion at a time. The sun set behind them as they rode, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Elena felt the wind on her face, the rumble of the engine beneath her, the presence of 2,000 souls riding with her toward tomorrow. She thought about Carlos, whose death had started everything, about Tyler, who'd grown from a scared boy into a man who told stories that mattered, about Lily, who'd forgiven her father and built something beautiful from his ashes, about Rocco and the angels who'd transformed from outlaws into protectors, about the town that had learned to see past its fears, and about Marcus. Always Marcus, the dying man who'd taught her how to live. "Thank you," she whispered into the wind, "for everything." And somewhere in the thunder of 500 engines and the warmth of the setting sun, she could almost hear his voice answering, "Thank you, Elena, for stopping." 1 year later, Elena stood at the podium of the National Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. The Ghost Act had been expanded again. 23 new treatment centers were opening across the country. Veteran suicide rates had dropped for the first time in a decade. And Elena Martinez, a single mother who'd once been afraid of her own shadow, had been named National Advocate of the Year. She looked out at the crowd, thousands of veterans, politicians, activists, families. Her family. Tyler and Sarah, their newborn son, sleeping in Tyler's arms. Lily and David, their daughter Hope, toddling between them. Rocco and the angels, their leather vests gleaming in the afternoon sun. 6 years ago, I was nobody, Elena began. A tired nurse driving home on a rainy night. A single mother trying to survive. A woman carrying grief and fear and anger like weights around her neck. She paused, letting the memory wash over her. Then I found a dying man in a ditch. A Hell's Angel. A stranger. Someone I should have hated, should have left, should have driven past without a second thought. She looked at the memorial behind her, the names of every veteran who'd been lost, stretching as far as the eye could see. I stopped. I helped him, and everything changed. Her voice grew stronger. Marcus Brennan showed me that courage isn't about being unafraid. It's about being terrified and choosing to love anyway. He showed me that redemption isn't given, it's built one difficult choice at a time. He showed me that the human spirit can overcome anything, even itself. She looked at her family, at the people who'd become her world. They asked me to talk about the Ghost Act today, about policy and funding and statistics. And those things matter, God knows they matter. But they're not the real story. Elena stepped away from the podium, moving to the edge of the stage. The real story is about a choice. A moment when you see someone suffering and decide whether to help or to walk away. A split second that determines whether you become part of the problem or part of the solution. She spread her arms, encompassing the entire crowd. Every single one of you has faced that choice, in your families, your communities, your lives. And what I want you to know, what I need you to understand is that it's never too late to choose differently. It's never too late to stop. It's never too late to save someone, even if that someone is yourself. Elena returned to the podium for her final words. Marcus Brennan died 6 years ago, but his legacy lives on in every veteran who walks through our doors and finds hope, in every family that doesn't have to bury their hero, in every act of compassion that proves hate doesn't have to win. She looked directly into the cameras, knowing millions of people were watching. So here's my challenge to you. The next time you see someone suffering, a stranger, an enemy, someone you think doesn't deserve your help, stop anyway. Reach out anyway. Choose love anyway. Her voice rang out across the memorial. Because that's how we change the world. Not with laws or money or speeches, with choices, one impossible act of compassion at a time. She stepped back from the podium as the crowd erupted in applause. Tyler was the first to reach her, wrapping her in a hug, while Sarah laughed and the baby stirred. That was incredible, Mom. I just told the truth. That's what makes it incredible. Lily was next, tears streaming down her face. Dad would be so proud. He is proud. Elena pulled her into the embrace. I can feel it. Rocco approached last, his weathered face soft with emotion. Hell of a speech, Elena. I learned from the best. Ghost wasn't much of a speaker. No, she smiled. but he was one hell of a teacher. That night, Elena returned to Marcus's grave one final time. She knelt in the grass, touching the headstone that bore his name. "I did it," she whispered. "Everything we dreamed about, everything you hoped for. It's real now. It's changing the world." The stars wheeled overhead, infinite and eternal. "I used to wonder if you could hear me, if you knew what we've built, if any of it reached you wherever you are." Elena smiled. "I don't wonder anymore. I know you're watching. I know you're proud." She placed a single white rose on his grave, the same flower she'd left every year since his death. "I'm going to keep fighting, Marcus. Keep building. Keep proving that your death meant something, that your life meant something, that love is stronger than everything, even death." Elena stood, brushing dirt from her knees. "But not tonight. Tonight I'm going to go home with my family, hold my grandchildren, remember everything we had, even if it was only 3 weeks." She touched the headstone one last time. "I love you, Ghost. I'll always love you. And someday, not soon, but someday I'll find you again. And we'll ride together, forever." The wind whispered through the cemetery like a kiss. Elena walked away toward the lights of home, toward the family that waited, toward the future that Marcus had helped her build. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. Because some loves never end. Some connections transcend death itself. And some choices, the impossible, terrifying, beautiful choice to stop for a dying stranger, change everything. Elena Martinez had learned that 6 years ago on a rainy night in Wyoming. And she would carry that lesson with her until her last breath. Not as a weight, as wings. The night she found Marcus Brennan, Elena was nobody. A tired nurse, a scared mother, a woman running from her past. The night she buried him, she was something more. A leader, a healer, a proof that one act of compassion could ripple across the world. And now, standing under the stars with her family around her and her future ahead, she finally understood what Marcus had tried to tell her all those years ago. We don't get to choose our wounds. We don't get to choose our scars. But we do get to choose what we build from them. Elena had built a legacy, not of leather and chrome and fear, of love, of hope, of the unshakable belief that no one is beyond saving. And that was worth everything. That was worth stopping for.